Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 7th meeting of the Ashland Select Board. I call this meeting to order. And the first item on our agenda is the dangerous dog hearing. I will read this notice of the hearing. Please be advised that on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024, at 7 p.m., the Ashland Select Board will conduct a hearing which will be held in person and via Zoom. The meeting will take place at Ashland Town Hall. If you wish to attend the meeting virtually, please use the Zoom link, which can be found on the calendar. The hearing is pursuant to General Law, Chapter 140, 157, and Section 87-16 of the town's general bylaws to determine whether your dog, and this notice is addressed to Claire and Christopher Roscom, is a dangerous dog as defined by General Law, Chapter 140, 136A. In the event that the board finds Cooper to be a dangerous dog, it will also determine what measures will be taken to protect the public in accordance with General Law, Chapter 140, Section 157C. So I will ask for a motion to open this hearing in accordance with that notice.
So moved.
I've got a motion, a second, so a vote to, all those in favor of opening the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the motion is now here, open, and on advice of council, I will ask for a motion to then suspend. Continue this, this hearing, and the reason for that is that we're the animal is no longer in the town of Ashland, and we're going to, on the advice of council, we need to get further information. So my request is to continue this hearing until the date of March 6th at 7:15.
I move that we continue this hearing until March 16th at 7:40. March 6th at 7:15 p.m.
Okay, the motion's been made to continue this hearing till March 6th at 7:15. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. So the hearing is now continued to that date and time. So I thank you folks for coming. Hi, Mrs. Kane. Great to see you. So we're going to continue the hearing until that date on March 6th. So that's really the end of it for tonight, folks. So
is my daughter? You already did. Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys want to confer and talk about it outside, feel free. And if you have any questions or other issues of us, let us know. Yes.
Up until this point, Donna's been the one that's done all the communication, and I just want to make sure that this doesn't slip through the cracks, and we don't miss anything on March 6th, and that this is communicated, and is there something that we need to do before that date to make sure that this happens?
I will make sure that you were communicated with, and like any updates and any developments that happen between now and then are communicated to you. Yeah. I apologize. It sounds like they were not, at least for tonight. So.
Yeah. No, there wasn't a lot of communication.
Oh,
Everybody's been
sorry to hear that.
about this whole situation. We just want it resolved and heard, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I can speak. I think the members of the select board understand your position, and
Yeah, we appreciate that.
great. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good seeing you all.
Yeah. Wish it was better circumstances. But
Yeah.
yeah. Bye, Mary Beth.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Do we need to close the hearing? I know I.
No, because
continued.
we've continued it
Okay.
until March 6th, so
Great.
we can't do
Okay.
anything else.
Thank you for that. Okay, so just a note for folks here for citizens' participation. The next item on the agenda is the historic cemetery presentation. Are they ready to do that presentation? Is Helen
Joan
there?
and
I see
Helen.
Joan. She's nodding. Okay.
Helen's nodding, so.
So how does that, thank you, Lisa. So how is that
Thank you,
going to
Lisa.
work? Who's doing the presentation?
I I am.
Okay.
Did you have me there?
Remotely. Okay, yes, we can hear you, Joan.
That's
All right. No, I'm sorry, Helen. I see
Okay.
Joan in big letters right below you. Okay, sorry. All right, Helen,
Okay.
go ahead
Yeah,
then.
so I guess Susan really has to make me co-host so I can share the screen.
Helen, did you log in on the link or did you come in a different way? Because it's not allowing me to make you a co-host.
That's because you're,
Yeah, I'm on the link.
that's 'cause you're not the host.
You didn't log in as Jen on the other Zoom account, right?
I didn't, but originally it said Jen, and then I changed my name, so maybe it's still showing me as Jen, I don't know.
I can get it. It's because the podium is host, so just give me 1 second.
Okay.
You should be able to do it now.
Okay. So, the Ashland Burial Ground, which is the historic cemetery in Ashland, is in need of a restoration, and I'm here to do a presentation for this. And so I wrote here the keepers of our stories. The historic cemetery is inhabited by folks who built the place that we now occupy. They built a foundation on which we thrive. Their stories are held in the sacred place and are our stories of culture and place. This is why we must restore this historic site located in the heart of downtown Ashland. And we are the ones charged with advocating for the residents who will be part of our community for centuries and their eternity. The Ashland residents deserve our stewardship, and their eternal home now deserves to have a respectful and historically correct restoration. The mission statement of, so we're working together with the
Excuse me,
Historical
Helen,
Commission.
just to interrupt, it might be helpful if you made the screen bigger. Can you make it a full screen so people can see it a little easier?
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Okay. I didn't realize on your screen it wasn't the full screen.
Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah, so the mission statement of our group, which is, the Ashland Historic Commission, the Ashland Historic Society, and the working group. The mission statement is to restore the Ashland burial grounds of the Ashland Cemetery to an acceptable condition using thoughtful and historically correct materials and methods involving the community, volunteers, and professionals. We will document all work done at the cemetery, all materials to be used to include before and after documentation to serve as a record for the future. This was not done in the past, which makes it difficult to know what actually had been done there. To construct a long-term maintenance plan for the site that will minimize future damage and keep the site in a condition that the community can be proud of. So the restoration timeline, and this is a little bit fluid. A lot of it will depend on funding, which I'll get into after the timeline, and how much funding we get over time and when we acquire it. So it's a little bit fluid, but we expect the restoration itself to take 2 years, possibly work into a third year, if need be. But the timeline for 2024 is to remove brush, debris, invasive plants and trees, uncovering buried or partially buried gravestones, treating invasive plants with water-safe herbicide. It's adjacent to the Sudbury River, so this is very important that we use a Board of Health approved water-safe herbicide to reduce the need for further clearing. So when volunteers come in, clear out invasive plants, this will help them to not come back so that we don't have to always have people going in to clear them out. Cleaning the headstones using D2, which is a recognized biological solution used for cleaning headstones, with a conservator for oversight. A conservator is a person or persons responsible for the repair and preservation of things of cultural or environmental concern. Training volunteers to level headstones and perform small repairs. Assessment of repair, which requires professionals, because some of the work down there will require some professional help. It won't be able to be done by volunteers versus work that professionals can train volunteers to do, which is what we want to base a lot of the work that we can do on, because it will save a lot of money, and it will also increase the, the community participation. So for cemetery timeline for 2025 is to repair gravestones using trained volunteers with conservator oversight and professional repair and restoration as funding allows. Installing 1 to 2 informational kiosks using historically correct materials such as granite for the posts. One kiosk would have a map of the inhabitants of the cemetery, and the second kiosk would have historic information about the cemetery and its inhabitants, and funding as funding allows. As funding allows. Installation of native plants and grasses. Installing a 4-inch perimeter around each gravestone with ground cover to minimize damage to the gravestones from lawnmowers and weed whackers as funding allows. So that's a big problem. We noticed that a lot of the headstones, aside from other damage that they do have damage from lawnmowers and from weed whackers, which I guess is a very common thing in cemeteries of any type. And so to install around each headstone a 4-inch perimeter would of like a ground cover that wouldn't grow would keep the lawnmowers and the weed whackers from getting as close to the headstone as they do now, so that would minimize the damage there. So the funding, the current plan is to utilize a small amount of money currently held by the Historic Commission. We would like to apply for CPA funding. And we want to procure donations that will be used for the cemetery restoration project. This would money that would only be used for that, and using a working group member who has extensive fundraising experience and is ready to go as soon as we tell her she can. And she's not a town employee or a special town employee, so she's able to procure that funding. Possibly procuring a 50-50 matching grant in 2025 from the Massachusetts State Historical Commission. The requirements for that grant that need to be satisfied are being worked on currently, and we have 3 working group members, including 2 of the Ashland Historic Commission members, including myself and Joan, who took the recent workshop on how to apply for that grant. And so what we are hoping is that we will be able to find as much of the work that needs to be done, that requires to be done, and add in some additional things like those kiosks and the plantings, as we get the funding. And then there's been a few other things that have kind of come up in the mix before I wrote this, but after I had we formulated the plan, discussing things with the DPW, like possibly putting in a trash barrel, or maybe even some signs that say that people can't bring their dogs in, just to kind of minimize, the work that the DPW needs to go in and clean up after. And so community participation, which is an integral part of the component, the historic preservation of the Ashland Burial Ground is an important project to bring to the community and together to educate and promote stewardship and pride in our entire community. We hope to engage the entire community, from school-age children to senior citizens, and this is very important to us. There's an important connection here for the community, and there's an opportunity for a wonderful learning experience for everyone. This was something that the members of the Ashland Historic Commission, working with the Ashland Historic Society and the working group, decided early on as a way to instill a sense of pride in both, to instill a sense of place and pride. Sorry, I said that wrong. The history of Ashland and its early residents, connecting with the current residents who will carry this pride and stewardship forward into the future. We've already got a nice group, actually, of volunteers that are ready to go. We have someone fundraising. I have people ready to go in to remove brush and invasive plants and small trees, and we're hoping to get some more people to help them. But we have a nice group, and we have a larger list of people who want to come in for a spring community cleanup and possibly training. We may even be able to fund some of the training this spring of some of the volunteers to do some gravestone leveling and some small minor repairs. And we will be doing, hopefully, that cleanup day this spring in 2024 with the select board's permission. So I put in a few pictures here, and I wanted to kind of go over them. This is just a small sampling of the types of deterioration that exist at the cemetery site. And you can see that the gravestones, some of them are sinking and buried in brush and plant overgrowth. There's mold lichen discoloration on all of the stones. Some stones actually are we would consider dangerous. If you look at the picture at the very top right corner, you can see sort of an obelisk type of monument, and it's leaning. What you can't see is inside of that monument. Originally there was a pin, and it would have been standing straight originally, but originally there was a pin, a metal pin in the center of that monument, and that used to hold it securely in place. That metal pin is now deteriorated and is basically no longer functional or even existent. And all of the pins in all of the monuments in this cemetery are the same. They no longer exist. They've deteriorated past functionality, excuse me. But this particular one, and there's a couple more like it, is actually considered dangerous because of the fact that it's leaning and because it's really technically not connected. It could easily be pushed over that top part, the obelisk sort of part of it. It weighs approximately 70 pounds. So if someone were to push it over onto someone else, there could be injuries involved. So there are, things like that we would consider dangerous. And then if you look at the bottom left, there's a stone laying on the ground that has a sort of a piece on the back. That's cement. That was a previously incorrectly done, I should say, repair. So what someone came in and did was they applied cement to try to level it on the ground so it would stand straight, but it didn't, and it deteriorated very quickly. But unfortunately, because they also applied it right directly to that stone, that cement is further deteriorating the stone at an accelerated rate. So that particular stone would require professional restoration because that cement has to be very slowly and carefully chipped off because it has to be removed to reduce that acceleration of deterioration in that area of that stone. And that's very difficult to do. So that would be something you would want a professional to do. And there are a lot of other stones and a lot of other types of damage down there, including some other repairs that I did notice while I was down there in December. There was another obelisk stone similar to that one, and it looks like someone had sort of tried to glue them together with some kind of pink gooey stuff that's sort of seeped out so you can see it, so you know that that wasn't done correctly. But if you look at the two stones on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that they look a little bit cleaner than the other stones. These two stones were sprayed in November. This picture was taken in December with the D2 solution. They've had no real scrubbing and no real scraping at all. So the D2 solution, which actually works over time, so even over a period of time further down the road from now, they will continue to improve the mold, any mold, any lichen, things like that that are on them will continue to disappear, and the color, and they're readable now. You can actually read those stones. So that's part of the the improvement, and that's what the D2 solution can do. And so that's pretty much my presentation. I would love to answer any questions.
So, thank you, Helen. Questions or discussion? Yeah, go ahead.
I just had a couple of questions just about the cemetery itself. And Helen, what's the oldest grave marker in there?
So I don't know the exact date, but I do know that we have a Revolutionary War veteran buried in there. And we do actually have a number of Civil War veterans. I believe it's Civil War veterans, but they're not real. I mean, they're very difficult to find. The gravestones at this point are hard to read, but there are some that we know of, and they're not properly marked as veterans, which is another thing we're working on getting, because when they go around on Memorial Day and things, and they put the recognize the flags, and these graves are not getting that because they're not really recognizable. So that's something we're hoping to fix as well.
Is this an older grave area than Simpson?
I don't believe so. That one may be as old. Typically, I think most of them are newer.
Okay. And do you know how many graves, how big is that area, I guess?
It's actually, so this is an interesting story. So we believe there are about 600 people buried here. You can see about 200 stones in different degrees of condition. Some are really not well, not in good condition. State of ruin, really. But we believe there is about 600 people in there. And so one thing that the conservator will come in and do is approve. They're going to try to count the graves. But we're also working on, although it's expensive, there is I believe it's a GPS ground thing that they, some kind of thing that they can come in and they can actually plot all of the graves, and it can be used, and I have the information and I should have had it ready and I don't, I'm sorry. But like a surveyor could come in and plot all the graves, and we would have the actual information. That costs close to $6,000. So that's what I would call a wish list item, depending on how much money we get and how much we're able to do. You know, that's something we would love to do. But in the meantime, we are planning to have the conservator that we're going to use for training the volunteers come in, and they, as part of that, will probe to find as many of the graves as they can. And they were the ones that estimated that there was about 600 graves in there. A lot of the stones, I don't know a lot of stones, but some of the stones, when they built the other cemetery, for some reason isn't coming to my brain right now the name of it, when they built it, because I guess it was more prestigious to be there than in this one. At the time, some families moved some of the grave headstones to the other cemetery. Some bodies went, some didn't. Oh, wow. So there are some bodies buried here, and their headstones are on the other in the other cemetery.
Do you mean the one over by the church, that one?
Or Wildwood.
Wildwood. For some reason, the name just went right out of my head. But Wildwood. So when Wildwood opened, because it was more prestigious to be in Wildwood than it was to be here, there were families that did move some of the gravestones to Wildwood, while some of them moved the bodies, and not all of them did. So we don't really know exactly, we don't have an exact accounting of that.
Do you have a projected budget for this, for the whole project, or?
I'm working on that now, but I can tell you that that's why we're planning on doing this in stages, and what we have is a wish list of items with a set of priorities. So the first priority is going to be to get the brush, because in order to get an accurate evaluation of really what needs to be done down there, we have to get a lot of the brush debris out and the invasive plants out of there. It will be easier to see what needs to be done. And once we have that information, we will kind of have a better idea of how much of it can be done by trained volunteers and how much we will need to require for professional help. So and I'm also getting estimates for the kiosks and the plants and the herbicide, which I did have an herbicide valuation estimate. I think it was $340 something, and some of the plantings were another $300 and something. So I'm putting all this together, and like I said, that's why we're kind of doing it on a between 2 and 3 year period. It's going to depend on exactly what all the figures come in at. We don't have the final figures, but we have enough information to start. A lot of it, because we are using unpaid volunteers, and I am keeping track of that unpaid volunteer time, by the way, so it's pretty extensive. And so we have a lot of people that are really committed and are really putting in some valuable time for this. But as far as the overall estimate, it's going to be slow, just because we have to kind of go through some sections to get to the next section before we know what it costs. But we believe we can fund this year that brush removal with the herbicide and the cleanup day with the conservator and training of the volunteers, which is what our timeline is for this year. And then we'll apply for, once we know what the cemetery itself, what the actual work that needs to be done, how much professional work do we need, how much can be done by volunteers, we'll have a better estimate for the total. And that's when we'll start applying, because I really don't even think we can apply for the CPC funding until we actually know how much money we need and how much money we're getting through our our fundraiser, who, seems to be pretty confident that we can get a number of good donations, but we still have to wait. And I'm expecting that she's, once she gets started, she's gung-ho, she's going to go right at it, so we'll see what she can come up with.
Okay. Just one last question, just, is, ultimately, would this be someplace that, people could just go and visit, or, would you not really want people in there, or?
No, we would want people in there for, as a matter of fact, we very much want people in there. This is a part of the community. This is like any other part of the community. We want it to be very much approachable. We just want it to be in a respectable condition that it deserves to be. And for the residents that reside there and for the community, which is why we decided instead of just trying to hire professionals to just do everything, which is very expensive. I have to tell you, one of the reasons volunteers is a good idea too, is it saves a lot of money. But also, it gets them involved. It gets them educated. There's history here. This is in the heart of downtown Ashland, in the heart of what we're hoping will be the historic district, but it is the historic district anyway. And so it's a part of our history, and it's a part of everyone who lives in this town's history. It is their story, because these are the people who built this town. This is the culture that has started with them and has worked its way up to us. So we want people to go there. I'm not so sure about dogs. The DPW seemed a little, like they didn't necessarily want dogs in there. That's okay. But the people, we want them to come. We would love to have it so they can read the headstones and they can see who's there, and that the informational kiosks would be there as a way for people to know about that site, that history in the town that they belong.
So, thank you, Helen. Thank you for that presentation. You're putting together a budget, you're going to be presenting, you're going to be applying for funds for the CPC for this fall, Springtown meeting? Is that your timeline? No.
I don't think so. I
Okay.
kind of really would have wanted to, but I think what is going to happen is that we're going to have to get past that spring cleanup day. We have to get in there and we have to get brushing.
All right.
So if you kind of see some of these pictures, and there's more than what I've got there, but some of these pictures, if you take notice here at the top, there's headstones in wooded, brushy areas that are sort of buried and covered, and we don't even exactly know what's there.
So Helen, excuse me for interrupting. Are you asking us for something specific tonight? This has been
I'm asking for so this is town-owned property, and so we just basically want the select board to give us the go ahead and start and move forward with the restoration project. Yeah.
Okay, to physically access the property,
Before we
yeah.
get that, I think the rest of us still have some questions.
Yeah, I just wanted
before
to
we-
kind of lay out so to help me understand what we're trying to determine
Well, I think we
tonight,
have
so.
to-
Yeah, I
Well, we
had
have to make a
spoken with
decision
Michael
tonight.
Well, that's what-
Herbert. Yeah, and he had said that since it is a town-owned property, that we would require the select board's approval for the go-ahead with the
All right.
project. So that's why I'm here.
Before I go with your guys' questions or comments, Michael, is there anything you want to say about procedurally or issues that you see with this?
So Helen and Doug Small and myself, we talked about this, and we talked about what levels of support that DPW could provide. And we're able to provide, I would say, some light support. So, for example, like helping with the brush a couple of times a year. Perhaps the tree work that comes later, we could roll it into our tree contract if necessary. I think Doug's main concern was, once it's done and it becomes more attractive to the public, I mean, is that going to invite more, like Helen mentioned, dogs, trash? Is it going to be another level of maintenance that we have to be concerned about? My larger concern is that, so technically this is a town-owned property, so it would fall under some operational management, and we know we're not able to. We're not. So it's a problem that's growing, which is the staff that we have are not enough to maintain all the properties. So the ability to use volunteers and the fact that we have volunteers that are willing to do this and put in a lot of hard work, I think we want to take advantage of it. But like from Doug, in my perspective, like, so we haven't done any research on like the D2 chemical or anything like that, or any of the conservators or anything, and we're not going to be able to. So we don't want to necessarily be held liable or be held responsible for something that we really haven't had any kind of management or oversight over. And so that's kind of like the bigger overarching issue. But, which I don't know if we could ever do anything with that officially. But anyway, that's kind of the general concerns. I mean, I will say Helen and her team, I mean, they have a good, strong core of volunteers that I know are willing to do the work. And like I said, we can supplement it. But I will say, like, once the money, like once you start talking about CPC and once it starts hitting our accounts, then it becomes part of the bureaucracy, for lack of a better term. And so you got to start thinking about procurement. And I'm not necessarily sure how much more we can take on procurement-wise in the near future. But like we have to think about that stuff as well.
Okay.
Can I address that a little bit?
Okay, Helen, yeah, maybe just quickly so we can get to the.
So I looked at the 30B manual and the procurement process back in November. And I've looked at our plan, and I've looked at, as much of the cost that I can anticipate at this point. The biggest cost that I can anticipate is how many headstones will need to be professionally, repaired or restored. But what I can say about that is that it could also be done over time. And what we were kind of hoping, and we could add this in too, Michael, that we could run all of our anything that we procure by you. But we were kind of hoping and to keep the cost low enough so that we could do what's called sole source procurement. Because I know at certain dollar amounts, you have to go through the whole bidding process. And we would like to avoid that as much as possible. So we're really hoping not to have to do that if we can. And I think if we were to do it in multiple stages, which makes the funding easier anyway. So
that's called bid splitting, and that's called bid splitting, and that's illegal.
No, not if it's under. So, for instance, if you were to do the brush removal and the supplies for that this year, and then you did the volunteer training this year, that's all under $10,000. That's not necessarily headstone restoration. So say you did next year, you did headstone restoration. Depending on if it was over $10,000 or not, if it was under 10, you would be able to do it under sole source procurement. I read this through on that manual. And what we're hoping is that it would be, or that we would also, we would have enough money that we could put aside, for like, say, the,
so do you have funding now, Helen?
The kiosk. So if we did the kiosk in the third year and kept it under the $10,000, you can still do a sole source procurement. And then, if we had to do a
So hold on a second, Helen. Hold on a second. Yep. We're seeing a lot of shaking of heads by Jen and Michael regarding the research that you're talking about. So Jen, could you?
I can, yeah. So it's not a sole source. So sole source means that there's only one person that can do that. It's a pretty high bar. And there is a maximum for that, and right now it's 50,000, and but you basically have to prove that there's only one person that could do that. I think what you're talking about is best practices, but if you know that over a course of a time a project's going to be $40,000, you cannot sort of break that up into small pieces because they don't allow us to sort of not to do procurement just because it's easier. I mean, that's.
But if we were doing it because we had so much funding this year and so much funding next year, not to do it to avoid, say, a specific rule, but just and also to divide each group. So the herbicides and the plants would be different project from the headstone restoration, which would be a different project from the kiosk installation.
Helen, I'm gonna stop you if you don't mind, Rob.
Sure.
So it sounds like there's still some work that needs to be done in regards to the planning of this project. I mean, I think I support I support cleaning up the cemetery, but I did have a note that I remember Michael saying that there would be some DPW that needed to be associated with this, and right now we don't know that the DPW has the time to do that. I guess my question, and this is to you, Michael and Jen, we have volunteers. I mean, and I would think that some of the just cleaning of the brush or removing of some of the, and putting it in a pile for DPW to pick up, is that possible, that
Yes.
first step?
Yeah,
So the
and that's what
cleanup
we've
day
talked
in
about.
the spring, could that happen?
Yes.
Okay.
That's useful.
And then the next steps, we'd have to have a more detailed description/discussion as to what that would entail. I'm hearing different things in regard to procurement and how you do that. So I would recommend that a more detailed plan get created, and then that comes back either
A written one.
a written plan, either probably to Jen and Michael, that we can then review. So
Okay, can I just ask one question about that? So when we bring in the conservator in the spring for the cleanup day,
Yeah.
it was going to be part of a weekend where we were going to also train the volunteers, which would mean if we didn't have to pay them twice, it's a $2,200 savings. Would we be able to include that?
So I personally need to know a little bit more about what you're looking for the conservatory sort to do, and where is your $2,200 coming from?
Okay, well, we
to be able to do that.
currently have a small amount of money in the historic commission, has a small, and that would cover that. We're also
Yeah,
expecting,
but where are those funds from?
Paul Gustafson.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So,
I have questions.
yeah, sure,
too.
let's, go ahead, Brandon.
So, Helen, I had a question that I'm not sure if it's more for you or if it's more for Michael, but talking about, this is a town-owned property, and looking at the pictures of some of the precarious monuments and things on site, from a liability perspective, if we have like a big cleanup day and something falls on someone from a liability perspective, like I'm just curious, like what that looks like, and
Yeah, so that's one reason to have a oh God, the things just went out of my head again.
We have a waiver of liability for it.
Yeah, I mean, just
There
like.
is a waiver, but also
think
when
of what they
we
do at the
have
town
this-
forest and at the Warren Woods, so it would
Okay.
be the same
We
liability
updated
waiver.
it specifically for this.
Yeah.
And the conservator also is there for that reason too, to kind of keep everything and everyone, sort of from getting damaged themselves. That would be part of their job, to oversee that work and to make sure that things stay safe. And actually, that particular stone that I showed you, when they come in for that cleanup day, I believe they're planning to pallet that so that doesn't happen.
Okay, all right. One other question that I had, I know you were talking about procuring donations to be used. Were you planning to develop like a 501c3? Because the Historic Commission isn't a nonprofit, and I don't know.
Right.
What.
Right. No, so this would be done under the working group. We have a non-special town employee who's got a lot of experience at fundraising, and actually, she has some things in mind that we've discussed, and I'm not going to jinx them by specifically saying, but I know we have some things in the pipeline that if they work out, would be pretty good.
I'm actually talking more logistically, because it's a town board.
Who's going to accept the funds?
Is it like into,
It would
because,
have to go into the town account, that the money that Paul Gustafson gave us. I had
We have
actually
that
spoken to Michael about this. The problem with the 501c3 was that it really was a lot more intensive than what we were prepared for. It's a lot bigger time commitment. You need a board of directors. There was a lot of involvement there that we're really not ready to do. And, so
Other,
So into the historic
okay.
commission, into that historic account.
there would be a
that.
way
That we
to do
started.
it in the
Okay.
account, okay.
Yeah, but I do know, for instance, that the corner spot, because I had spoken to Beth at the corner spot, they had raised money. So she told me there is a way to do it.
Sure.
I don't
Sounds
really
like
know exactly myself what that is, but she did say there's a way to do it and that we could house this money in that account. I talked to Michael about that because one of the things I was told by some of the people who I know were talking with our fundraiser is that they do want to make sure that that money is only used for this purpose, and that it would be in an account that wouldn't go back to the town for other purposes.
Okay, and then I just have one other quick,
Sure,
I just
go
have
ahead.
one other quick question. So this conservator that you've been working with, like, did you vet other experts? Like, was this just one person that you reached out to?
We did not, only and mostly because there aren't really very many, if any, other people out there that do this. It's mostly these people that do this are coming in to do the restoration themselves. This is a very unique group. They're out of Westport, Massachusetts. They're a group of, one guy's a dentist, one guy's a pharmacist, and one guy's like a fisherman or something, I don't know. But they do this because they love this. This is their hobby really more than anything else, but they've gotten very professional over the years. They've been doing it just under 10 years, I think. And they've restored all the cemeteries in Westport and a lot of towns around them. They get people from all over that come to
Excuse me,
them
Helen,
looking for them.
in a few minutes, we have to open another hearing, but we'll put it in,
Okay.
we'll
I just
open it.
want to,
Yeah, no,
tell
go
you
ahead,
that
but
the
any
one
other
thing they
questions,
do that-
thoughts?
I have,
Helen,
Helen,
hold on a second.
Helen,
John
I have-
wants to ask you
Yep.
something.
got two questions for you, Helen. I like the idea, I like restoring the cemetery to what it used to look like, or close to it. That is surrounded by apartment complexes. 128 has families that are in there with young kids. Concord Street has families in those gray apartments. They don't have backyards, but I do see them playing in the cemetery area. The brick building further down by the Sudbury River, same thing. The kids are up there playing in the back area. Are there any plans to put some sort of fencing in that area? One, for protection, if we're going to put all this money investment into it. And where would be the entryway for that? Because, again, it's behind the Federated Church and near 128 Main Street. So is there a map, or is there any?
We wouldn't be changing anything structural like the entryway. And I believe if we were to put in fencing, which would be costly, that would be on our wish list item, would probably be pretty low, just because there's other things that need to be done first. But one thing I wanted to say about the conservator, just before, I want to do it before I run out of time, is that they are willing to train volunteers. That's very unique, and at a very low cost, to come in and spend an entire weekend not only overseeing the cleanup project, but then probing for the graves themselves and training the volunteers. That is what makes them very unique from anyone else I've looked into. So I did want to just kind of say that about them. They're TNT Gravestone Solutions out of Westport, Massachusetts.
So Helen, I'm wondering if we can wrap this up quickly before the hearing. So I guess I'm going to suggest, I think the board's very supportive of your proposal in getting this done. I guess my suggestion along the lines of what Yolanda was talking about earlier is that you have some meetings with either Michael or Doug or Jen or whoever, and then come back to us with a more detailed proposal with something with the kind of the questions answered and that we can take action on. I think the select board likes this idea and wants to help you move forward. So I don't know if Michael,
The only problem with that is some of the answers that you're looking for, I'm not going to have until some of this other work gets done.
Sure. No, that's
So I
understood.
kind of need to know that we have the go-ahead for, at least some of it.
Would you be open to allowing the spring cleanup to happen?
Well, except that she's talking about that they're looking to have the conservator there during the spring cleanup. And then make it a full weekend where they help them clean up and then do training that weekend. So I don't know that, I personally would sort of want to see a
What's the
more
date of it?
fleshed out plan.
Well, we don't have a date set yet. We
Okay.
were planning to do that in the
Well,
near
I suppose you
future.
could come back.
I think
they need to come back.
I think if they can come
Okay.
back with, what the cost of the conservator is and exactly what they're
Oh, I
planning
can
on.
tell you the cost of the conservatory.
Hold on,
Well, not-
hold
not
on,
now,
Helen, not
Helen.
right, so.
It's
but not-
$2,200.
Yeah, but not only the cost, but what is that giving you? right?
That's giving you the whole training week, and they
Hold
come
on,
in. they-
Helen.
Yep.
Helen. So I appreciate your enthusiasm, and I love that. But I think before we can make a decision, this is town property, and we want to support this. But I think we need to have a little more hard facts, not just from what you're telling us, but in a written proposal that says, this is the conservatory we'd like to use, this is exactly what we're going to get for what we're paying them, what the volunteers are going to do, maybe a mock-up plan, maybe a mock-up form of, dismissal of liability for the volunteers are going to go in there, and let that be the first step. So, I would say as soon as you can get that done, you can come back to another meeting, and then we can help you.
And who's Helen's main contact? Who should she be? You, Michael, or Jen, or Doug?
Yeah, I mean, for me, for
Okay.
right now. So,
Volunteering
and
again.
we'll pull in
And,
people.
and I guess my next question is, do you guys have the time to support her at least getting that to us?
We can do a couple meetings
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
Helen, I think you've got most of this stuff already. I think it's just organizing it into kind of like a written plan, just with, certain line items, things like that.
It's great, Helen. Good work. I mean,
Appreciate
Does
all
that
your
make
effort.
Yeah.
sense to everybody?
I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
So I think Helen, thank you for your efforts, and feel free to, when you're going to talk to Michael, if you have any other questions, email the entire board.
Right.
I'll try to
Okay.
respond, but thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, take care.
They might be online.
Thanks, Helen.
Thank you, Helen.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda is the public hearing for transfer of a liquor license, Easy Convenience, 69 Pond Street. So I'm going to read the legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Select Board will conduct a hearing regarding an application to transfer a wine and malt package store license held by D2 Convenience Incorporated, DBA Easy Convenience Store, to Easy Corp, DBA Easy Convenience Food Market. Okay, this is for Easy Convenience Store, 69 Pond Street, Ashland, Mass. 01721. A public hearing will be held on the matter at Ashland Town Hall, 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass. on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024 at 7:45 p.m. Parties wishing to be heard in this matter should appear at the time and place indicated above. Interested parties who are unable to attend the hearing may submit written comments to the Select Board's office, Town Hall, 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass. or by emailing Susan Roby at sroby@ashlandmass.com. Signed, Robert Scher, Chair, Select Board. So I'll have a motion to open the
So
hearing.
moved.
All those in favor, open the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Hearing's open. Thank you. Okay, so Susan or Jen, someone want to introduce, is the proponent here? Someone from Easy Convenience Store?
Yeah, so my name's Kyle Vieira. I'm actually counsel for Easy Corp, who's
Okay.
the applicant here. If it's easier for the board, I can kind of give an overview of the transaction, some more details, and then if you have any questions or anything you want answered, me and the managers can kind of answer your
Okay.
questions if that works.
Great, so I see other people are here. And who else
Yep.
is here for this? Can people raise their hand if they're here for this hearing? I just see one other person online, maybe two.
There's a couple.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Go ahead. And no one in the audience is,
Not here.
okay. Okay, great, thank you. Go ahead.
Yep. Yep, so this is for the transfer of a beer and wine license. Just some background on the ownership group. Pizza Mode, who's here today, she's a manager of the corporation, and she's also going to be the on-site manager, the operations manager of the business. The ownership group here is extensive retail and convenience experience. They've spent over a decade in that industry. They've previously had 10 years of management experience at a convenience store, and they sold a variety of controlled substances such as tobacco. And as far as we are aware, there's been no violations either at the state level or at the local level with any of those businesses. As far as certifications go, this new ownership group is going to be tip certified, including each and every employee that's going to be working at the premises itself. We're going to install at the beginning of the new ownership period, there's going to be a ID verification system, an ID scanner, to make sure that each and every person who purchases alcohol is of age. Additionally, in terms of the store itself, it's pretty straightforward. This is a straightforward transfer. The hours are going to remain the same. The name of the store is going to remain the same, and the operations themselves are going to remain the same. It's going to be an identical business. It's just going to be ran by a different and new ownership group. I do want to just mention here, there is a pledge of a license here. What that means is this is being financed by Rockland Trust. It's a loan for the purchase of the business. So they're pledging their license and the inventory in the business. It's basically a security interest. So if Rockland Trust needs to foreclose, which will not happen, we do not believe that will happen here, they have a security interest in the property. Of course, if that ever happens, any transfer of a license in the future from the bank would have to be approved by the Board of Selectmen of Ashland. So just so you're aware of that. And specifically on any votes that you may have, I would request that you also vote on the pledge. The ABCC is very particular in their requirements, and they require that the town approve not only the transfer, but of the pledge of license itself. So otherwise, I've been to hear if she can answer any questions, or if you have any further questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn to board members, questions?
So is there a specific language that you need for that pledge of license to be in our motion?
Yeah, I would just suggest that you say you also approve the pledge of license and inventory in the application.
Okay. If anyone else has any questions.
Yeah, go ahead. Anybody, questions or thoughts? Is there anyone to speak on this matter in favor of the license? And is there anyone who wants to speak against the license transfer? Anybody else?
Maybe we want to hear from the manager, the woman who's going to be the manager?
Yeah, the new manager, right?
Would you care, what's her name?
If we could have the woman who's going to be the new manager, just, introduce herself and.
Say hello and.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about
Binta.
yourself.
My name is Binta Mood, and I'm living in Ashland. And I have experience in 10 years in convenience store. And I want to try liquor store.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Great, thank you. And you're familiar with the rules and the regulations on the liquor license and the sale?
Yes.
How many years' experience have you had with other convenience stores that have either beer and wine licenses and/or full licenses to sell alcohol?
10-year convenience store experience.
Yes.
10 years.
10? Okay,
10 is-
thank you.
yeah,
I
think
didn't
you
hear
said
that, I'm
that's what you
sorry.
said, yeah.
You're fading in and out, that's why I apologize. But thank you.
That seems pretty
Any other
straightforward.
questions or
Straightforward, yep.
comments? Yep. Are we
Yep.
ready to close
Just
the
one quick,
hearing?
one quick.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Susan, if you're there, have we received any emails, yay or nay, against this transfer of license?
We did not receive any emails. There was some concern with the Board of Health, which has been rectified. There was an outstanding issue from the last transfer where there was a sink that was not brought up to code, and that had to do with coffee. They are taking the coffee stations out of this business, so they're not going to be required to have the 3-bay sink anymore.
Okay,
Great,
thank you.
okay. Motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Motion's been made to close, motion's
Second.
been
I
made
made
and second to
sorry.
close the hearing.
Second.
So moved, second.
Second.
I interpreted that as a second.
Having a
All those
long
in
day.
favor of closing the hearing, say aye.
Aye.
So the closing, hearing's closed, so discussion, any discussion further on this matter?
Pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have a motion?
Sure, I move that we approve the liquor license transfer for Easy Convenience Food Market located at 69 Pond Street, and approve the pledge of license in inventory and application.
Is that the correct language? Counselor, everybody's nodding?
Yes,
Okay,
that
great.
that'll be sufficient.
So, second on that?
I'll second that.
The motion's been made and second. All those in favor of approving the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So the next item on our agenda is finally citizens' participation. So, is there anyone online that's interested in citizens, wants to do citizen participation? Raise your hand or make yourself known. I'm not seeing anyone on the virtual. Is there anyone in this room? I think we have
we
three
have
people.
three.
All right, so should we?
Janet got here first, so I
Okay.
think we need
Yeah,
to let
she sat here
Janet go
very
first.
patiently.
All right. Very good,
Janet got here
Janet.
first.
Approach the podium. Thank you.
Hi, folks.
Hey, Jan, how are you?
Janet Platt, 11 Rodman Road. At the last town meeting, I asked a question about the Capital Improvement Committee, and I was directed to come and find my answer outside of town meeting. So I'm here because the Select Board is responsible for appointing the Capital Improvement Committee, and you're the Select Board. So my question is, when are we going to have a Capital Improvement Committee?
Well, I will, so I don't know if anyone's hot to answer this, otherwise I'll ask Michael, because I think we all remember the history that we did have one for a while, and right now we never appointed. So, I don't know, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm willing to jump in a little bit.
Sure.
You know, so we disbanded the last one, partly dysfunction, partly other things. We then did do a capital plan with staff and with a consultant. And I think since then, capital's been moving forward. I know in our bylaws, we are required to have a capital committee. I just don't know, I personally have not put it as a priority to work on that. So I think right now, how capital is being done with major projects having their own committee members has been working. So I would either say, I mean, another thing I know I've been realizing is we need to do another bylaw review. Believe it or not, it's been 5 years plus since we did our last charter review. So I guess my response to you is, right now it's in the bylaw. Right now, capital has been working in regards to what we bring to town meeting and the number of, maybe there's no committee per se, but there are people, we look at it, staff looks at it, different committees have looked at it. So I think at this point, like I said, I know it's in the bylaw. I would almost rather looking at a charter review committee versus a capital committee to review those bylaws and then go from there. But again, we haven't discussed this as a board.
Right, and so I'm asking you to discuss it as a board. And
okay.
My perspective is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call on my experience negotiating school contracts, teacher contracts. I've been on both sides of that table, and when we have a contract, it says this is what we can expect, and it's not because we don't trust the people that are sitting at the table doing the contract. It's for the time when we don't, right? Then we can call back and say, well, this is our process, and we're not going to just start this process now because we don't trust you. It's because this is how we always do it. So it is a bylaw that we have a capital improvement committee, and we haven't had one for
It's been years.
6 years
Probably
anyway, right?
six or seven.
And I understand that it was messy, and so when it disbanded, I was I understood what was happening and that it wouldn't just be replaced, because it wouldn't, right? But I think it's been time and people have cooled off, and whether or not it functions well for the people doing the process, the town voted to have this process with the Capital Improvement Committee. Okay. And when the budget comes to us to vote on it, if the people doing the budget don't respect the process we asked the people to follow, then why should we respect the budget that comes to the table, right? And again, if it's above board, it's easy to see. If it's we don't need to do it because it's working for us now, please put it on your list and do it, because it's part of the bylaw.
Well,
right? And it serves a different purpose.
Yep.
Okay? The people making the different pieces of the budget each have their own interests to protect, and they should. Right? The DPW should definitely advocate for doing the best possible job they can. The schools should do the best possible job they can. The Capital Improvement Committee, they're not even very powerful. I understand that, right? But their job is to look at the whole picture and make recommendations. And I do want to know what they have to say without an interest in any stake in any of the outcomes. That's what I like about that group. So I'm asking you to put that on your agenda.
Okay.
have a talk, and find 7 people that are willing to talk about capital improvement, and come to the town and say, here's the plan that the town manager makes. I know that's his job, right? Like, I get that. But here are our recommendations for it, and we can weigh that also.
Okay. I personally, I think that's a good idea. We will add it to an agenda in the near future and go from there. Yeah, I'm willing to, and work with town management and see how we can fit that back into, the current process, so.
Any other thoughts on that? I mean, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think we can have a discussion. We don't need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, so we'll put this on a future
Yeah,
board
maybe for
agenda.
that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, okay, great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Janet.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks.
Future agenda. Okay, very good. All right, so Mark?
Good evening, Mark Sony, 49 Hawthorne Road, Ashland, Mass. I'm up here for a little bit like that reason, but I'm going to just put it in a different frame. To town manager, if I can speak to him, I watched a little bit of your finance committee that was online, and I saw the chart. Okay? And I was wondering, how can that chart be stronger other than housing? How can economics make that chart stronger?
Can you describe which chart,
Yeah, which
Michael?
chart, Mark?
The graphic chart that had the,
Oh, the new growth?
yes,
Gotcha. So what Mark is referring to is the new growth chart that shows the new growth number for each year. So, Mark, as, whether it's a residential development or if it's a commercial development, as they come in and they make improvements to property, then yes, that adds to the new growth figure. So if you see more businesses come in and improve their property, you'll see that number go up.
and for that new growth number to come up, it would have to have some sort of interest for whatever group comes in. Business, economic, whatever it is, to grow with.
Right. I mean, I think for businesses to move into town, they have to know that they'll be supported by, especially if you're looking at a retail business, right? So they have to feel like they can make a living and generate enough revenue to cover their expenses. That's with any business, actually.
Well, almost like any business. I'm looking at it from future science, climate, and stuff like that. Business that is worth growing with in government. Government sort of, not retail, but
You're thinking like biotech and
Yeah.
tech stuff. Yeah.
that's always been my thinking of biotech and everything. To biological, climate, net zero, and all that, including climate control, and that is worth the green future. This town is small, but it can still hold a future with that growth, couldn't it?
Yes.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
So why hasn't it been talked about?
I don't know that it's not been talked about, Mark.
No, not, only place I can get the information from that is from the Sustainability Committee.
Okay.
And that's a small subcommittee for the town, but it's not major town management or what Beth Reynolds has in her plate. So I'm looking at it in an expanded to understand the future climate control and for future state colleges graduates, what their studies
Okay.
to keep in the local area.
So, thank you,
Okay.
Mark. I think one of the board members may have
So just for
something.
clarification, Mark, are you looking for, I mean, the new growth number talks about how we add new taxes based on new construction or new businesses, as Michael said. So are you looking for how can we increase that new growth by bringing in biotech companies or things related to climate change and sustainability?
earth studies. Let's see, what's the other, biotech, biological,
Okay.
and things that, what state colleges have for postgraduate and bachelor's science degrees.
Are you
That's
looking for
one.
like an internship program? Mark?
Yes.
Things like that? Okay. Well, we do have a number of tech firms already here, and I could certainly talk to them about what kind of internship programs that they have or apprenticeship type of programs. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
I'm looking at that, I'm looking like the NASA space stuff sort of thing that is global educated, that has everything to do with climate and green energies and
Gotcha.
ecosystem.
Gotcha.
All right. Well,
That's-
thanks for the thoughts, Mark. That's
Okay.
helpful stuff.
And whatever the next speaker's gonna come up with, I'm on her same side.
Who's that? Cece, okay,
Oh.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. All right, Cece, come on up and. So I know you've been asking to come before us, and you're here at citizens' participation. Do you, yeah, why don't you go ahead, Cece, and tell us what you're looking to do here.
Well, first, I want to extend my gratitude. We've kind of put Ashland on the map with the wireless radiation issue, and it started back in 2014 when Ashland became the first in the United States to have best practices for mobile devices that basically says,
Schools.
turn off the wireless devices when we're not using them, because otherwise they continue to radiate with multiple antennas. Turn off the Wi-Fi when you're not using it, and always put a mobile device on some surface other than your body. And we went through the legal fine print and all the devices that says, keep this device off your body because it's radiating. So we became the first in the nation to do that. And then we became the first in the nation through our friends at the library to do a 6-part documentary and film discussion series on electromagnetic radiation and health. And then we became the first, with great thanks to you guys. I know Rob, Yolanda, Joe, you guys were on the committee when we got a radiation detection meter for our library. And I helped a doctor in Newton to get one in their library, out in Pittsfield where Verizon turned a cell tower on top of a neighborhood. These citizens got so sick they had to abandon their homes. They have one in their library now. So we've really been pioneering here in Ashland. And I would like to see us take it further to meaningful action that will actually protect our children especially. So I've been asking Michael and Rob, you were gracious to respond, about getting together and talking about how we can do formal education in our town. I'm brought in all over the country and internationally to do this kind of training, and I think it's time that we really put our feet to the ground and start protecting especially our children from radiation. So 2 things got me back on this path. One was when I received a notice from the Department of Public Utilities or Public Works saying that it's mandatory that I let them come into my house and put a smart meter on my home. That would be the water meter. So I've reached out to the DPW and said, please show me the legal statements that are available that make that mandatory, because I honestly don't think there are any. I think it's a muscling tactic that the industry uses to make us think we have to do this. There's nothing in state law that tells us that we have to do wireless transmitters that pulse 24/7 on our home. And that was the first thing. And then when we opened our beautiful new Mendez school, I took advantage of the open house and I went in with my meter. I started in the parking lot and I measured outdoors, and it was nice and green. It was beautiful in the courtyard at Mendez, nice and green. But every single room I went into in that school, we have just overpowered the school with wireless access points in every single classroom and hallway. And I will give you some of those readings. Now, in the scientific literature, they tell us that this man-made radio frequency radiation causes these symptoms. It's very well documented in the science. Headaches, insomnia, dizziness, difficulty concentrating, brain fog, ringing in the ears, skin rashes, heart palpitations, eye problems, anxiety and depression. And you guys all know that our children are not thriving. So many are suffering from these symptoms. And if we just turn off the wireless and choose to hardwire with Ethernet cables and adapters, the problem is solved, and there is nothing in the law that prevents us from protecting our kids. So I did measurements in the scientific literature on this meter. They want us to be at 10 microwatts per square meter or less. So in 3 feet of air, how much radiation? They want us to be at 10 and no higher than 100. And I'll give you the readings inside Mendez. In the gym where the ceiling's really high and the ruckus access point is really far away from the kids, 3,200. In the art room, 20,700. In the STEAM room, 23,100. In the library, 28,300. And it goes on, right out to the principal's office, where it was 119,000 microwatts per square meter, and we want to be between 10 and 100.
And so, Cece, I'm just trying to, so this is all potentially important and concerning. I think the situation, I'll speak for myself, but I think in terms of the scientific basis and how much we actually don't know or don't have that information.
And
so
that's why I want to do the education, because I can bring all of that.
Well, I think what I'm kind of struggling with, and I think the other, like, what is the best kind of scientific evidence, and what is our role as local officials in kind of teasing that out and understanding it? So I understand that you have your scientific point of view. I'm wondering if there's another one that we should also be aware of, and how we put that process together. It's not something we could do with citizens' participation, but I guess I'm just trying to ask for some guidance or thoughts on that process, because I think if we just have you come in and tell us, and by the way, I don't know if you're dealing with the schools, a lot of this seems to involve the schools, but if we have just you come in and talk to us, then people will be saying, but there's another side to this, and we should hear that.
And we have invited industry to these types of meetings, and they just refuse. When I was brought in to sit on a panel at the State House in Michigan, we had world-leading experts in science, engineering, medicine, and we invited the industry, and they came for the morning session, and they listened to the facts, and then they did a no-show for the afternoon. So invite whomever you want. We can bring the science, and we have some really good advancements that have happened in the last couple of years. So you may know that Senator Spilka introduced a bill on my behalf right around the time that we got our Ashland Little sign hung up in our classrooms. It was to form a commission to bring the right minds to the table so that we can investigate and then decide what to do. Well, we have had a bill to form a commission in Massachusetts since 2015. And we've gotten it out of committee, we've gotten scientists and experts but then it just times out. We had the same conversation with the state representative up in New Hampshire, and his constituent got really sick just from the Wi-Fi in her own home. And he's an engineer, and our engineers have only been taught you have to have heat from a device to have harm. So when this constituent talked to Rep. Patrick Abrami, it flew in the face of everything he'd ever known about wireless radiation, but he went and did his deep dive. And he came back and said, wow, what are we doing here? So the citizen introduced him to me. They got in his car from New Hampshire. We sat in my little kitchen in Little Ashland here, and we helped him to connect the dots. Why does the legal fine print in your phone say to keep it away from you? Why have Lloyd's of London, Swiss Re, and AM Best long since recognized this as a world-leading risk, and that can leave our town very vulnerable to legal exposure?
Okay, so Sissy, are you asking to come before us for a more detailed presentation, or to have a forum?
I want to educate the town. I want to get everybody together on this, because tonight, if they understood, they could put their routers on a timer, kids could start sleeping through the night, adults could start sleeping through the night. So I want to get the information out there. And I'm happy to answer any questions or to provide experts.
Hold on a second, I just want to, so thoughts, what are people thinking here?
So I just want to, so I had looked, when you had initially reached out to us, I looked, and did some research of my own. And I can't find anything from like the World Health Organization or any leading health organizations that point to a cause.
Right.
That,
So
that there's anything that is causational about this. And then just also, I know you had sent an email to the Board of Health as well, and my husband, who's on the Board of Health, is a scientific researcher, and he did a deep dive into some of your links and things like that. And I know that he would have some questions for the process because I'm not going to speak for him because obviously he's not here, but he questioned the validity of some of the assumptions that were being made. So I think, you know, I don't think it's something that, you know, we automatically want to educate people on, because I don't think it's been validated that there's an issue, that there's a causational issue.
Well, actually, Brandy, if I could answer that, in 2011, the World Health Organization determined this radio frequency electromagnetic field of man-made energy was a Group 2B possible human carcinogen. What was missing back in 2011 is the animal studies. In 2018, the United States National Toxicology Program completed a $30 million study. It's the largest study ever done in our country to see if cell phones could be harmful. At the end of the day, they had an unprecedented 3-day peer review at the NIH with world-leading scientists and doctors, and in their final report, they concluded clear evidence of cancerous tumors and DNA damage. Now, clear evidence is the highest of 5 categories they can assign, and that should have triggered public policy. But there are different people in charge of radiation at the FDA today which commissioned that study. Today, it's Dr. Jeffrey Shorin, and when we investigate his background, we find that he is married to a woman who's a partner in a law firm that represents the wireless industry. He should have never been anywhere near that study. So instead of translating it into public policy to protect you and I, he went over to the Federal Communications Commission, which is supposed to be protecting us, and he said, oh, we don't really, pay no attention to that study. So at that point, the FCC took it upon themselves to close a public record that had been open for 6 years and went over and wrote up in the Federal Register that we don't need to change our public radiation exposure limits. So as soon as that hit the Federal Register, people started suing the FCC, Children's Health Defense, Environmental Health Trust, and others, and it went to court. And at the end of the day, the judges were presented with 11,000 pages of evidence of harm in the public record. And they're looking at all of this, and they're saying to the FCC attorneys, well, how did you determine that it's okay to stick with these outdated numbers from 1996? And the FCC did one of these and said, oh, the FDA said it's okay. So, of course, the judges asked, where is the homework?
Cece, just sorry to interrupt, but so I'm sure there's a lot involved in discussing the merits of this. So I'm just procedurally trying to figure out how we should approach this, or what, if anything, we should do. I think you're asking us to sponsor a forum, or?
Yeah, I think we need to come together as a town and look at the science, look at the facts. All of our engineers, all of our physicists, all of our technologists have been trained that you have to have heat from a radiating device to have harm. That's not what the science today says. We have FCC limits up here. The harm is happening at hundreds of thousands of times below that.
See, this is citizens' participation, so we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is this something we could put on a future agenda to have a fuller discussion, or are there other people we should also invite, or, thinking about a forum that's maybe?
I don't support a forum.
You don't support that?
Because in my personal perspective, it's a conspiracy theory. And I get where you're going, but I don't believe the actual science supports it. So that's my personal perspective.
If I could add, the New Hampshire law was passed. They formed a commission to investigate with highly qualified doctors, scientists, engineers, and state-level authorities. And they voted out this commission report that documents the conflicts of interest with the wireless industry and our federal agencies. So there's no cavalry coming to do this work for us. If we want to protect our kids, we have got
Right.
to pony
Are you
up.
approaching the school committee at all? Because,
I will go back to school
Okay.
committee, but I
Um,
think it really falls with you guys,
right.
because you are our town leaders.
Hmm.
And I don't want to play hot potato, I want to protect
Right.
those kids. And Joe, you know, you're a retired police officer. You were telling me about the guys getting brain tumors from the guns, the radar guns in the back of the cruisers. It's the same technology, and we have put it in every classroom, and our kids are suffering.
well, thank you, Cece. So I'm not, does anybody else have any suggestions or discussion on this? I guess we'll take this under advisement.
Yeah, we can get back to it.
Yeah, and, you know, maybe we could talk about just a future agenda item where we spend a little bit of time with CC on this, okay? All
So
right.
what I'd like to do is leave you guys with a meter, and I'll come back for it in 2 weeks, but I would like to ask that you go around and measure in your homes. I know Michael's taken one home already.
Okay.
Go measure. Walk into our schools and see what you see. If that maximum number goes over 100, we are responsible for the welfare of our children. So I invite you all to take advantage.
All right. Does this have to be returned to the library at a certain time?
No, this one's mine.
Okay.
This is yours,
This
okay.
one's mine.
All right.
We do have the one at the Ashland Public Library.
All right, thank you, CC. I appreciate your commitment to this.
Yeah, and we have 6 bills that are before the committees that are being reported out today. Their commission bill has already been.
In Massachusetts.
You just give it at one end and we'll
Yeah,
pass it
we'll
through.
pass it.
We've got one, we've had one for
Okay.
years for DESI to address this, and they're doing nothing.
Great, all right, thank you, CC. I think we're a little bit at a loss. It's not our usual cup of tea to investigate these sorts of things, so, but thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Cece,
Thank you, Cece.
appreciate it. Thanks,
Yeah,
Cece.
same to
Thank
you.
for your commitment, Casey.
Okay, so that's citizens' participation, old, new business. So I have vote to sign and post a presidential primary election warrant. Voting will take place at Ashland High School on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So do we have the election warrant to vote
Yes.
to
we
sign?
should. Yep. I move that we approve to vote and to sign and post the presidential primary election warrant for the primary on Tuesday, March 5th.
Second.
The motion's been made in second. All those in favor of posting the warrant, the
Aye.
election warrant, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? None. The election warrant passes. Okay, thank you. And now the next one is open to town meeting warrant.
Yeah, Jen, would you like to lead the board through that?
Sure. So as always, annual town meeting is on the first Wednesday of May. So this year it's actually May 1st.
Wow, May Day.
So,
May Day.
We're gonna dance around a maypole before the meeting?
You can, but I'll eat the candy that comes in the box.
We'll have Adam do it.
So, what I was hoping to do is open the town meeting warrant, and send out guidance to all the town, boards and committees so that they're aware of timeline. Really keeping open notice of intent, which really is just, an email to me explaining, possible town meeting warrant articles, so you don't necessarily need the language per se, but at least the concept and the idea, so we can make sure that we can follow up, and that, to me, by, I believe it's March 15th, and then, I think in the backup for the guidance, I had closing and posting the warrant on the 17th of April. I'd love to actually, just for the guidance, move that up, and just gives us a little bit of time, because that's really cutting it close. So if we could do it April 3rd at our first meeting to close and post and I'll change that before we send it out.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it says
It is,
April 17th.
yeah.
Okay, so you plan on doing that till April 3rd, and then the goal is that then that we could potentially post the warrant earlier, so people are, okay.
And then it gives us some time,
idea.
because normally we have the warrant articles, and that's sort of what we post, and then we work on the motions. It just gives us a little bit of time. We could still have public hearing because of the motions.
good.
And then we have to have it posted 7 days before the annual town meeting,
Right.
but it'll just give us a little bit of.
And if we can get people the
Okay.
information sooner. Okay.
So do we need to change anything, or just?
I'll just
we're
change that
vote?
one
Oh,
date and
okay.
before we send it out, but.
All right.
Motion to open the May 1st, 2024 annual town meeting with the change of the guidelines as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. So the town meeting warrant is open. Update on comprehensive plan.
Are you up?
I'm up.
Oh, right.
Boy.
I have to bring this microphone down a little bit. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Bear with me, guys. All right. I'm going to share. Can I share? How do I do it from here? I don't, oh, wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay. Share, there. Share. Okay, is that up? Oh, yay, okay. So, Yolanda and I are the representatives from Select Board on the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee, and just wanted to give you a bit of an update. Yolanda, feel free to jump in with anything that I miss. But I wanted to start with the project website that J.M. Goldson has launched for us. The URL on this is it's https:/tinyurl.com/envisionashland. And the reason I wanted to show this to you guys is because, let's see. Let me see if I can do it on here. Here we go. Okay, so we've just launched 3 new community feedback tools, and we will be having these open for the next approximately 2 months. And so one of these things is a survey, which takes about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. And do we have a link to the survey from our town homepage, Michael? Did we put that up yet?
I don't think we've got that up yet.
Okay.
Got some interesting information on the survey when you get to it.
Okay, all right. But we'll start with you know, there's these three tools. One is the survey, one is this crowd map. And the crowd map, I can click and show you guys. Let's see if I can. So basically, this asks questions and allows people to put dots at actual locations. So if one of the questions here says, where in Ashland would you like to see utilities expanded or infrastructure upgraded? So if you want to see sidewalks in a specific location, you can pinpoint it on the map. Let me see if I can get to it easy enough. I'm going to show you guys. Oh, hold on. This is not working for me. Hold on. Let me go back. All right. I don't know why the map, maybe it's just the way that this is. Oh, wait, hold on. Clear out of this. Sorry. I have like the Zoom people and, oh my God. I may not be able to get this to do what I want it to do. Nope. All right. I apologize, but basically you can, you go in there and you put like a pin wherever you want to see specific things, whether it is infrastructure or whether it is supporting housing or businesses, commercial development, or something new you want to add to Ashland. So it's sort of it layers your ideas on an actual map, so we can see where in point in time you want certain things to be added. And then the third thing that I wanted to just mention is that we launched this tool called Meeting in a Box. And what Meeting in a Box is really small focus groups that we're going to be hosting. We've already started reaching out to people. We're going to have these Meeting in a Boxes for the next 8 weeks. And basically what it is, it's small group informal discussions about ideas that you have. So it's really gathering the ideas and as much feedback from folks as possible. So I know I'm going to be hosting one this Saturday over at Dulce de Leche. I'm sure Yolanda's has some in the pipeline too, and we're going to be rolling these out sort of in the next few weeks. So, but the Meeting in the Box is more the ideas. The survey is more data driven, and then the crowd map is more spatial, I guess is the way to put it. Yeah. So, So I just wanted to kind of do a little bit of show and tell. And then our website really is, if I could get this to work. I hate laptops.
And the website is linked
Yeah.
on the select, or on the town
Oh,
website.
there it is. There we go.
Yeah.
There's the map. There we go. So you can see some of the dots already being put into place.
I was gonna ask, so this is the crowd map?
This
You
is
can
the
go
crowd
to the
map.
town website and do it,
You,
okay.
you can go to the project website.
The project
Mm-hmm.
website,
Which you can get to,
okay.
From, if
which
you
you can
go,
get to from the town website.
yeah, you have to look at the committee's page and find Comprehensive Planning Committee, and there it's linked.
Okay.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
So, sorry about the technology issues. Do you guys have any questions? Anybody have
No, but when you
anything
click
want to-
on, like, even if you're just visiting, you can click on one of those dots and it'll show you what the
What the comment is.
Sometimes you have to scroll through a couple of layers. But, not that you have to try it now, but just in case.
So the meeting in a box.
Oh, wait, there we go.
There you go.
Ooh, kid spot.
Oh, very nice.
Okay.
Bet you it has something about rubber tire mulch.
So the meeting in a box, is that, so say you're hosting one of these, do
Mm-hmm.
you get certain equipment, or like how does that work? Or how are you gonna record
How do we
people?
facilitate it?
Yeah,
So-
and get the information and all that, you know?
So we have sort of different topics that we ask questions on, whether it's housing, whether it's open space, whether it's economic development, sort of the major themes, and we ask a bunch of different questions within it.
Are these all the same questions? Are people asking the same? Or
Yes,
they
so every
the same?
meeting in the box, you don't need to go to more than one. If you're invited to a meeting in a box, you only need to go to one, because at that discussion, it's specific questions, and there'll be forms that get filled out and then sent back to the consultant. So the idea is, with the meeting in the box, is we're gonna ask everyone on the steering committee to reach out to their committee, so this is part of that discussion,
Yeah,
right? Is,
right.
can we give the rest of our board the information, so you could do it with a group of people, and Joe could do it
Okay.
with a group
So
of
people
people,
can do
and,
it, yeah.
right? So that it's not just the steering committee doing the meeting in the boxes, but they then reach out to their committees and say, okay, here's the information, talk to them about it, and have them do them as well.
Yep. So what we would love for you guys to do is to join one of us in a meeting in the box, and then, like Yolanda said, kind of host your own in your own
Right.
neighborhoods.
Oh, cool. And are there sites available? Like, is the town supplying, is willing to supply meeting spaces for this? Are there places?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at hosting two in municipal buildings, like one in Town Hall and then one at the community center. I've noticed Dolce is very open to that. I've known a couple people are having it in their homes.
Yeah, well, how about if one of the members or people hosting it, want to say, use a town facility? Any issues with that? They just call and just say, I'd like to, I'm thinking about like the substation at 126,
Oh.
for example. If people want to use,
Yeah, I don't think that'd be an issue.
Yeah, so.
So,
Well, how
so
would
on
they
that
use
note,
it?
who would they contact?
Just get in touch with me first, and then I'll
Put you in the right
deploy it.
direction.
These are small groups, so we're
Yeah.
talking like 4 to 8 people max.
4 to 8,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable inviting some people into your home, or if there's a business that wants to support a discussion, not just Dolce, they have offered, they seem to be a good place and people are talking about that. But if there's other businesses that want to get a number of business people together, or people that are their customers, so we're really encouraging as much diversity of places, people,
yeah.
and input as
And I think the
possible.
library, probably, the trustees would probably be open.
And you can do it on Zoom, too. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
attended one this weekend that was over Zoom, so.
That's interesting. People have the Zoom, okay.
So, and we can get you the materials, and anyone's
Yeah.
welcome to come
Yeah,
join me on
so the
Saturday.
way, if you want to host one of these, you go to one, you get the information.
You see how it's done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, and they take the meetings in a box take a little longer. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours total. And then what we're asking people to do is, once they do a meeting in the box, make sure you also complete the survey, because the survey gives us more information, is more data-driven, rather than just ideas. So it'll help with the data collection of this.
Yeah, that was actually a comment someone said to me, that the survey is very much like there's not a lot of open response questions on
Right.
the survey.
Right.
So that's where some of the input will come in open response type is in the meeting in the boxes.
Yep, so.
Yep.
Speaking of the survey, we did get an update today. So far, we've got 198 responses.
Wow.
Nice.
And again, how do you access the survey? Is that something?
Right now, it's through social media links, but we'll put it more prominently up on the website.
So where, is it on the town Facebook page?
So,
Is that
I
what-
can-
Yeah, but we
And-
can.
I have a
So the
flyer.
QR
I have a nice
code.
little
And a
flyer
QR
with
code
a
as
QR
well.
code.
Okay.
Yeah, when I was at Bagel, and I was gonna talk about this later, when I was at Bagel Table, I asked people, here's a QR code, and I had
Scan
probably
it.
6 or 7 people take the QR code and
Yeah,
do the
it's
survey.
working. It's because
Yeah.
the Goldson team was really, really impressed with how many surveys we've got so far.
Well, so far, I think Goldson feels like our steering committee is like hitting it out of the park in general, because we had, I think they said when we had our open house forum, we had 159 people submit responses, and that was, I think, by far and away the most they've ever
Most.
had.
And the goal was 100.
And the goal
So
was
to have
100.
159 people show up
It's a great
was a
event,
very
yeah.
positive thing.
So, and we see all the comments on that too, so Goldson gave us a report on the open house, and we've seen the actual feedback, so it's not just sort of a mush of,
We've seen all,
we've seen all the
they
comments.
took all the information
Yeah.
and compiled it for us.
So, and then, so our steering committee is meeting next Thursday on the 15th, so we will, I'm sure have lots to talk about, so.
So it sounds like your committee is moving in the right direction to get this thing, done before it becomes ancient.
I mean, there's still a lot of steps,
Oh,
right?
right.
This public
Information
engagement
gathering.
part
Right.
is the first step of public engagement. And then as we start writing it, there'll be more public engagement to review and discuss, and it's a multi-step process.
Right.
Fortunately, Goldson, I think, is very good at this, and they're guiding us in a very
Right.
positive way.
Maybe similar to the charter review committee. Gather all that information in and.
So we need another one, by the way.
All right.
Other questions or thoughts? I had one kind of just not directly related to this, but, one of the things that came up with the tree bylaw was the build-out. Are you guys, hopefully, there's gonna be a build-out analysis as a result
Yes,
of this
Yeah.
process?
yes, there will be.
Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be 2. That was part of the scope. And
Thanks, Brandy.
It's interesting how they put it together. So there's a process that they utilize to narrow down the parcels to see
Great.
what could be.
I think that's really
built
useful
out.
information.
Just remember, though, that, while we're still subjected to 40B requirements, it's not set in stone. You could have, because what they're doing is they're basing it on the zoning
Right.
that's allowed. And so you have a 1 acre lot, let's just say, and it's, let's just say it's zoned single-family residential, and you can build 1 single-family home. Well, you could have a 40B go in there of 10 units. So just something to be aware of.
Is there an alternative analysis with 40B?
No, because 40B just kind of trumps everything.
Well, but it is, but you can't put it in an existing subdivision, right? It's gotta be vacant land, right?
No, somebody could buy a home and knock it down and do a 40B. Now, the likelihood of something, like
that.
there's
Yeah,
got to be
yeah.
an economy of scale
right.
associated
Okay,
with
well,
it.
that's good. I'm looking forward, because I think that's really useful stuff.
So I just, also, before we kind of get off the comprehensive plan stuff, if you want to do a meeting in the box and you're trying to connect with one of us on the steering committee, the best way is to send an email to the whole steering committee, which is cpsc@ashlandmass.com, and it goes to all of us, and we will get you into a meeting in the box.
Great.
And I would also encourage everyone to do all 3 types, I don't know if I really said that, but to do the survey, the crowd map, and a meeting in the box, because that's the most way to get as much feedback as possible. So, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Brandy.
Thank you.
All right, review and sign the Metro West Veterans Service District Agreement, which we had some information in our, so, you have anything you
Yeah.
want to say about that?
Yeah, just, so as with everything, costs go up. And so this year, the district budget, not our assessment, but the district budget is going up 13,000. Our assessment is going up from $56,540 to $60,274, which is an increase of $3,733. So we need the select board to vote to approve that and essentially authorize Travis, who's the Holliston Town Administrator, but more importantly, in this context, the chair of the board, of the Metro West Board, to sign.
I just had one question. What, it says building rental, what space is being rented?
So it's in Holliston.
Okay.
So their site with their like rec department, council on aging services.
In that building?
Yeah, so it's right on 16.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, it's more towards the Milford line.
okay.
And just refresh my memory, so if folks in Ashland want to access veteran services, is there certain days that they're here, or do they reach out? Like, what's the best way to get in contact with?
So they can reach out and set up an appointment, number one. And then John is also available at the community center. I don't have the exact dates and times right now, but yes, he does have like set office hours.
Okay, and if somebody calls over to the community center, they'll
Yeah.
let them know, yeah.
And then one other question on the contract. So it's a 2-year contract, fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 27, but all we're seeing is the fiscal year 25 budget, correct?
That is correct.
And there's no, okay. Yeah.
Now, is this pay as you go? So is Ashland charged more because of the services that are being utilized?
So the assessment's based on population and the number of veterans service.
Whether they use the service or not?
No, it's like the active caseload.
Oh, okay.
So,
Thank you.
What's our active caseload, do you know?
I think the last meeting it was at 10.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know, no one ever uses those veteran parking spaces. I don't know if he knows that.
That's not true.
Is it really? I've
seen
never,
cars there.
ever seen one parked. Okay.
I have.
That's good.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's a non sequitur. I'm sorry.
Yes. I move that we accept, I'm sorry, any other? Okay. I move that we accept the Metro West Veterans Services Agreement for fiscal year 25 through 27, and that we authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the board.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, I will sign it. When do I need to come in and sign it, or is it here now? or-
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, good,
it's here.
okay.
I was gonna say,
I'll
well,
do it before I
expect it
leave.
to be in the
Great.
folder.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Oh, the next item is the discussion of Valentine Property Public Forum, which was held on January 29th, and next steps, which we had talked about. Okay, so does anyone want to start this one off? We're all kind of involved with this, right?
I think it was a good forum. I think the input was great. I think we still could use more input from the community in response to Michael's proposals. There was someone who.
And the other proposal.
And the other proposal that was given. Yeah, I mean, I think we need to, I don't know if it's a formal, I don't know if there's some kind of survey or something, or that we can put out to get some kind of response, or, I definitely think would be good to get something resolved sooner rather than later, so that if there is a way to start getting revenue or something, or if we need to spend more money, we can look at what we have for funding and make that decision. But I also know it's partly, capacity of time and effort on the staff's perspective, so. But it was a good first step, I think, and the barn looks great.
It's looking awesome.
If I may,
I think
Mr.
everybody,
Chair.
pretty much everybody was there, right?
There have been some folks that have asked me, will a tour be given of what's been completed right now? Because a lot of people saw the forum and saw the pictures, and, pictures can say 1,000 words, but actually seeing it, is that a possibility, or are we concerned about?
The only thing I'm concerned about is the parking.
Okay.
Really,
Yeah.
and I'd like to make sure like the steps are done first.
Sure.
Because
Yeah,
you
that
know
makes
that
sense.
going out,
Yep.
going in
Yeah,
there.
that-
Getting
that-
into and out of the barn right now.
It is. Yep. No,
But.
good point.
Yeah, that's, like, once we get the steps done, I think we can look at doing something.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yolanda, maybe that's a good place to do a little video on, you could walk around and.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we did one a number of years ago where we walked through the interior of the house and the barn. I'm definitely willing to, set that up again and do another tour of the barn to show people. Hopefully the basement would be dry so we can go down there and.
Yeah.
And also go take another look at the house. So yeah, you, Paul, and I can connect, and I think that'd be a great idea.
Yep.
Yep.
So in terms of overall process, what do we think? Because, Michael kind of been moving the ball along with these proposals, and we had some other proposals. How are we going to, you would, ask people to weigh in on it, but we didn't really give an end date on that, or what our next steps are. So what are we thinking about how to, so that's a great idea to, show people what it's like and generate more ideas. But how do we kind of close the loop and move the process along to making some decisions, I guess? That's what I'm...
Well, as I said, I think it would be important to continue to ask people for feedback if they watch the forum. If they didn't, go back and watch it. We'll look at getting a video up of what it looks like now, and then look at what this staff capacity is in regards to what the next steps would be and what that process is, right? Because as we've said, we have this one proposal about doing a school there tied into nature.
Yep.
We have the Parks and Rec Department. I would think that would tie into our budget discussions, because if we're creating a Parks and Rec Department, do we have the funding to do that? If there's additional staff, to be able to move them into the house, what does that see? And do people support the idea of the property, if possible, being used for weddings and things like that? And if that's something people are interested in, what does that mean for the property, right? The barn certainly can't be used now for a wedding venue because there's no power. So certainly it could be used for something that, during daylight, that when it's nice and warm and you don't need power, or they can bring generators. But if we want to turn it into something similar to the Historical Society in Holliston, which I think people seemed,
To resonate.
that resonated with them. They, what would it cost to get it to, to that point? And whether or not people want us to do that. And so I think we have to keep talking about it here at our meetings. If you have feedback, Board of Selectmen selectboard@ashlandmass.com. We've gotten a couple of emails already from different people who have supported and/or questioned some things. I think, certainly parking is an issue on that location. So I think we need to get an estimate of, and I think people are supportive of stuff happening there. What would it take to improve the parking? I think that's one of the first steps, is what would the cost be to improve parking in that facility to allow it to be used for anything? Those are my thoughts.
Luba's proposal was interesting, and I think after the forum, the reason I was thinking about it a little bit more, and I think one of the reasons that kind of resonated with me is because when we initially were looking at what to do with the Valentine estate, and we had a letter of interest from a nonprofit school that was looking, and I remember thinking, oh, it'd be really great if we can tie that in with education and things like that.
Sure.
I do think that the house itself is a long way away from being able to be used.
Yeah.
So I know that Luba's first inclination was really to try to have a new place for Courtney to be able, or someone like Courtney to be able to offer a farm-based educational outdoor experience. And that house, you showed pictures of that house, and those
generous.
Pictures were, I guess generous is a really good word for it. So, we're a ways away from being able to do anything like,
Right.
to inhabit that house at all. So, I think we just need to make sure we set some expectations, and, maybe there is a way to share that house in a way that we could, run something, I'm thinking like even doing something with our rec department. So like Kelly could run something somewhat similar, or maybe not, maybe not goats, or maybe goats, or I don't know, but where we could offer those kinds of programs there, as part of a larger rec program and still be able to do things like weddings in the barn.
Right.
So it might have this dual function. And then, my only other question was something like, from a revenue perspective, the Article 97 prohibits us from basically a for-profit enterprise there. So we have to be a little careful about what that looks like. So that's why I was thinking more of like along the lines of, maybe something through our own rec department that kind of incorporates a lot of those kind of elements. But that's my perspective. I'd like to be able to do it all. It just takes a lot of money.
So I guess some other thoughts or ideas. I guess I'm really trying to focus on process and next steps and how do we get to wherever.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to, we need to have a vision for it, and then we need to figure out what it would cost, right? And I'm not sure, maybe we need to know how much money we really have to put towards it. I agree with Brandy in terms of, I thought the presentation that was made that evening regarding some kind of a daycare situation or that could work with Parks and Rec Department and potentially.
A wedding venue or whatever.
Yeah, potentially they could work hand in hand, become part of, the recreation department. I mean, the recreation department runs summer camps and runs, all kinds of activities for our students. So why couldn't it be something that would work together? That being said, what would the cost be to get that into that sort of? And I think that might be where you go first. In my mind, is that the building the house has to be upgraded before you can really do too much more in the barn, because there's nothing really you can do in the barn unless you have bathrooms, electricity, maybe some kitchen facilities. So I think that, we have to be looking at what would it take to bring it up to,
Right. I mean, and I certainly think the idea of having the bathroom and the kitchen facilities in the house works, right? You can keep the rustic barn, but the barn would need electricity, because to do anything, I mean, maybe it's just a 3-season, but you'd still need electricity in the barn to be able to have lights and music and whatever else for any kind of event. So, and then, the question there is what kind of electricity, right? If it's just lights and a record, lights and a sound system is one thing, but if it's lights and the ability for a band to set up, that's a different in regards to the amount of electricity that you would need and lighting and things like that. So I guess, again, I'm just going to repeat, to the public, let us know. The other thing is, it would be good to know how much we've spent so far and get an estimate on, if we want to bring it up to this level, what would that cost? If we want, if we look at the different levels that we want to bring the house and the barn to, and some kind of estimate on what those costs would be.
And the other thing I think too is, we have to be careful that we don't, what needs to be done to the barn so that while it's not in use, keeps it from falling. Right. So, I think that's number one priority, is making sure
We
that
don't want to have
that
to go
is,
back to redo stuff.
right,
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form, protected, and secure.
Right.
That- In the,
So I think to get any kind of like estimate that we're talking about, we need to hire professionals.
yeah.
And I think, Claudia, to your point, I think if, the Holliston Historical Society seems to have resonated with some people. We've had some people that had some questions and concerns about that. And then like the whole farm school idea, I think that could be incorporated in some way, shape, or form into this. I think like I'm not sure if it would be a 5-day-a-week type of program, just because you need to have some of those shoulder days if you are going to have like a wedding or something to set up and stuff. But if people are generally okay with that, we can move forward with getting professionals to say, okay, this is what we're hoping to do and this is what we're hoping to accomplish. From your professional view, what would that look like what would the facilities need to look like to accommodate that, number one? And number two, what's a high-level estimate of what this would cost?
Is this something, you have pretty good readership on your town manager's email, and you always put some kind of survey at the bottom?
Yeah.
Could Melissa or Beth and you create a question to say, you know, these are the possible, you know, these are the possibilities, you know, basic, and then go from there and see what kind of feedback we get?
Yeah, I was gonna suggest the same thing, Yolanda, because I don't think asking people to email us. is
No,
gonna
I agree. Which
get
is
any-
why I
you
went
know,
to
we
the
might get one
idea
or
of-
two, but I think some kind of a survey that gets pushed
Right.
out gives people the opportunity to
And
respond.
maybe even if that survey, once it's part of your email, could also get pushed out on social media and,
We're doing a
might
lot
help.
of surveys. Just-
Yeah, so.
That's how you get some input.
Yeah, yeah.
And what we do, well, what we did, I'm sorry, is, so we posted a video of the forum to the Valentine's section of the website.
Oh, nice.
And so we could refer people to that.
Oh, good.
And then,
Yeah, that's good.
you know, they can.
I've looked at that.
Yeah, okay, great.
If you do your little WACA-TV thing. you
And
know.
we, yeah,
So,
We can
in
certainly
terms
do
of
that.
us meeting again on this, what have we done, another 3 months, 2 months? What do you think we should put this?
Yeah, if you give me 3 months to do some outreach and get some input and
yeah.
then kind of
And
put
then
together
regroup
some
and put
thoughts.
something,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, so we'll
So
kinda-
it's February,
yeah.
so maybe June, so it's after town meeting, because we're gonna have, okay, because May will be busy
Oh.
with town meeting and stuff, and,
Okay.
okay.
All right, anything else on the Valentine Forum?
So Susan, add that to the June tracker for
There you go.
agendas.
Next item is discuss volunteer breakfast or pasta dinner. Who was asking about, who brought that up or wants to talk about it?
Well,
Yolanda?
I mean, I didn't have it on there, I forget where it came from,
Yeah.
maybe Brandy or
Maybe
someone.
somebody.
But I know,
Getting my schedule.
when it was sort of COVID time, we didn't want to do anything inside, and I hosted the volunteer day
Oh,
at my house,
nice.
which I love doing. I offered something, I think, last year, but we couldn't come up with a date, and people weren't sure if that was going to work. So I think it's that time of year where we do start talking about either our volunteer breakfast that we've had at the community center, and I think the pasta dinner is something that Joe mentioned at one
Yeah,
point,
that
that, you know,
sounds
do
familiar.
we offer a pasta dinner? And I think that's why it's on there, so we can discuss what we want to do. I think, I know what happened last year. We had planned our volunteer breakfast, and it wound up ending to be the same day as Green Up Ashland. And then we never rescheduled.
Okay. About to-
So-
Yeah, we were about to reschedule it and then.
Yeah,
forgot.
and then we
Okay.
never got to rescheduling, so.
Well, what time are we talking about? When do we usually do it in the spring, right? Is that
We've
still-
done it as early as March and as late as when we did the one at my house, we did it in like June or July, or maybe even August. It was late. Yeah.
So, I think, Joe, I think it was your idea for the pasta dinner. How do you envision, I mean, are you still?
Cooking.
Cooking, you'd cook it, yeah. Where would it be, at the community center? Where do you have?
I
these
would think
facilities?
well, you have the kitchen at the community center, I don't see why you couldn't do it
Yeah,
there. We actually did, when I was still working for the PD, we did like 2 or 3 of them there, like a luncheon. Before the Legion was shut down, we had it there, because it was
Yeah.
located, was there, it was a nice location and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, I just think it's try to do something a little different, you know?
Yeah, what are people thinking of that? Because that's more involved in, we usually, what do we usually have TJ's bring some breakfast stuff over?
That's what I was thinking when you were, that's what I was thinking when you were talking pasta
Yeah.
dinner. I was like, oh, we'll get some trays from TJ's.
Well, that's true, too. Joe wants to cook himself, yeah, I don't know.
I'm not.
Nothing against Joe.
I'm not.
Joe,
I'm not that
really.
ambitious.
Yeah, right. I know.
I've done it before.
I think if we were gonna do a pasta dinner, we'd have to make sure we ask some volunteers who are serve safe, because I know I'm not
Yeah, I'm not
certified.
either.
Or we could keep it simple.
Quick second.
Or we just
Absolutely.
do our breakfast and,
I just threw it out there. Do what
Yeah.
you want. I mean, you know, whatever you guys think. I just thought it'd be something different, and have fun.
Yeah.
Sauce, Joe.
I mean, I certainly know how to cook, but,
I know how to make sauce.
I know you.
I don't want to cook for 50 people.
We don't have to.
Yeah.
it's probably, I mean, the last time we've done it we've had as many as 80 people.
Well, no, I'm not cooking for 80
It'd be
people
well
either.
attended, yeah.
So,
You
you
can
know.
serve.
Oh, I can
Well,
serve, yeah.
I guess I'm kind of partial to the Saturday morning kind of breakfast thing. I
What,
mean,
you don't eat pasta in the morning? What kind of an Italian are you?
I don't know. Cold pizza.
Right? Come on.
Cold pizza.
Cold
Cold
pasta.
So the one thing I do want to make sure, like, we'll probably want to host a marathon breakfast, right?
Oh,
For the
right.
runners.
Yeah.
We'll have to put that on the
We should
agenda.
schedule that
Yep.
too.
You know,
Yeah.
so just kind of like putting things in perspective of like the time, you know, the
That
calendar.
sounds
True.
right, yeah.
So
True.
Yep.
I would say maybe if we plan for May, not the Green Up Ashland Day and not Mother's Day weekend. and-
Well, or we try to do it in March,
We
right?
could do
We
it in
look at
March.
March, and, I mean,
could do it in March.
in the past, they've
What's St.
been
Pa- what-
in
what's-
March.
What's St. Patty's Day?
March might
We've
be-
done them in March, like the 3rd or 4th weekend. St. Patrick's Day weekend is March 16th or 16th and 17th. The next week one would be March 23rd to 24th. I wouldn't do the next weekend, because then the next weekend is
Well,
Easter
March
weekend.
16th is a great date.
This is the volunteer event. I mean, March 16th could be a good day, right? It's the birthday of
It's the
Ashland. and-
incorporation of Ashland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there
Well,
we
if you
go.
do it on the 17th,
that's a Sunday,
yeah, I know.
St.
Well, I
Patrick's
know.
Day.
You could serve some green beer and,
Green beer.
Yeah, but then we
Wow.
can't do it at the
How
senior
about green
center.
soda? I don't know about serving green beer.
I know.
I'd
Well,
vote, I'd vote
so
for this,
what
I'd
about
vote for the
16th?
23rd.
Should we pencil the 16th in, like, is it 9 o'clock?
There's a big, I don't know if it's on your guys, it's probably not on your radar, but there's a big college and career fair over at the high school. So anyone that has high schoolers will probably.
What time is it?
Starts
Later,
at 9
though.
o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
So
wow.
just-
The call-
Okay.
the
Like
career
9 to
fairs-
12.
Hold on, Michael.
Yeah, so, yeah, the career fair, and then Susan's not gonna be around at that time too, so.
I mean, we're letting her take vacation again?
Does Susan actually?
Yeah.
I'm trying-
But I
just
think
arranges.
if we have a
Just a
date and
hologram
she
up there.
arranges,
That's not
we
really
make
Susan.
sure.
Yeah, just one, yeah. just
Okay.
But I think, to your point about the career fair.
Career fair,
There
yeah,
might be
that's
people.
important.
There might be
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
people.
So,
So the 23rd? That's the week before Easter.
Works for me.
yeah, let's put it in there. and
March
see if we
23rd?
So you want
usually-
to, you
Susan's
wanna
looking
do
at
the
her
breakfast?
calendar. I think the breakfast,
I kind of like it.
you know,
Are we talking 9 o'clock? What do we do with that? 9?
yeah, I think we typically do like 9 to
Did it at
10:30.
Yeah.
I think it's a.
Susan, you're checking your calendar. Does the 23rd work, or is there something that we need to look at?
I'm not back from vacation yet.
Uh-oh.
But that's okay, because I mean,
Can Diane
you've
call
done
on
the
the order?
order for us, but if there's someone who can help manage that, and when do you leave?
I leave the 7th, I
1st.
fly home the 23rd.
Gosh,
I think we'll be all right.
I think we'll be okay if there's someone who can just manage, we can ask for
TJ's,
people to,
right?
respond by the 15th, and that'll give us, okay.
Oh, that's right, we had to do all the invites and all that.
Or we could back it up and have them respond earlier. Have them respond by the 6th or something like that. And then you don't have to worry. And to be honest with you, usually 20 people respond and 50 people show up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You got your numbers
Usually
already.
the way it is. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm good with having people respond by the 6th or 7th. That would mean getting the invitation out this week,
Yeah, that would be, that's ambitious.
or early next week.
I think that's doable.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. I'm not trying to,
If you think
Put
that's
undue
doable.
pressure
Okay,
on
so
you,
the
yeah.
volunteer breakfast will be Saturday, March 23rd.
Tentatively, yep.
No, not tentatively. This is what we're gonna vote, whether or not we do it. From
Oh,
9
we're gonna
to,
vote? Okay.
from 9 to 10:30, 9 to 11?
How about 9 to 11, that way?
I move that we have our volunteer breakfast, thank you for the offer of pasta, on Saturday, March 23rd, from 9 to 11, and we invite all volunteer boards that we appoint
at the community
and
center.
other elected Okay.
And other elected, yeah.
And
Is
other
there,
elected.
Do we, before we vote, is there any groups that we've left out in the past that we would feel bad
How
about?
about our legislative contingency?
I think we've invited them
Have we
before.
invited them before? Okay.
Sure, so would they understand? Any other groups that we've kind of had second thoughts that we, these
I don't
guys
think
should have
we've-
been invited, and, any other?
Second thoughts not to invite them again?
No, I meant the other way, but, and then what about?
I think the last time we did this, we looked at that, right, Susan?
We did, you expanded it. It used to always be the boards you appointed, and then you kind of moved on because you have like some of the subcommittees of groups,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you extended it to them as well.
Right.
Yeah, who was that, who are you thinking about with that? I'm trying to remember who.
Well.
It's a
you
long
do-
list.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll include them?
I'll offer to review with Susan
Yeah,
before the
when in
invites
doubt,
go out.
include people, doesn't hurt, right? Okay.
Right.
All right, so motion for that has been seconded. Did we second it? Okay. All those in favor of the date that we discussed,
Aye.
say aye.
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, no pasta, oh well.
I'm bringing it anyway.
All right, next, discuss offering a select board scholarship. So, I think the Brandy, or you requested that.
I had, I figured it was about the right time of year to start talking about this again, because I'm sure things get posted at the high school for scholarships opening up. So I think last year we offered two $2,000 scholarships.
Yep.
And so I just wanted to bring that up to see if that was something that we wanted to support again this year, and
Well, I'm willing to support it, and I'd
Same
like to
here.
continue it, so.
Yeah, same
Yeah, I
here.
think it's a
And
great
so,
idea.
you two have been doing it, right?
We've been the
So,
subcommittee,
yeah,
yep,
were you-
and I'm willing to continue.
Same here.
I'm willing to let them do it.
Okay,
I'd be willing to do it as well.
All right. Have a third voice in it, doesn't bother me.
I don't
We
think we
can't.
can.
Oh, we
then
can't,
we're quorum.
oh, that's right, that's right, then we gotta take notes, unless you wanna take notes.
well, I guess we'll continue with the current way of doing it unless there's,
Okay.
I appreciate Claudia's offer.
So the same amount?
Tough to get on a committee and hit this group, I'll tell you.
I know, well,
What do you mean? You're in a bunch of committees. Man.
I move that we
Which I'm
open the
thankful.
select board scholarship to two graduating seniors who live in Ashland for $2,000 each.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll second that.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so motion carries, so we're continuing the select board scholarship. All right, the next item is just a reminder, town
We have to
buildings.
do the motion to appoint.
What's that?
Motion to
Oh, I'm
appoint Joe
sorry,
and myself
okay.
to the select board
All right,
scholarship.
so we have any discussion? Claudia, do you want to make a plea?
I have no comment.
I was gonna say, you can make a pitch.
Sure, I think that I have a
Are
lot
one
of
of us willing
experience
to
with the
step down?
schools, and I feel as though sometimes we try to allow folks that have different passions or different backgrounds to participate in those particular groups or subcommittees or,
I am
Working
willing to
groups?
pass it to you, Claudia,
okay,
There you
and
go,
let it be
very
you
good.
and Joe.
thank you, I appreciate
All right.
that.
You're welcome. One less thing on my plate.
So then I will make a motion, unless there's more discussion. That's
No,
what I don't
I
know.
Go
would be
ahead.
pleased to
Go
have
ahead.
Claudia take that over with
Yes.
Joe.
All right, so I'll make a motion to appoint Claudia Bennett and Joe Mignani to be on the scholarship subcommittee for this upcoming scholarship season for the class of
And
2024.
I will second that.
Great, okay, thank you. So the motion's been made to appoint Claudia and Joe to the scholarship committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. So congratulations, you guys.
And who
thank
has
you,
the
Yolanda.
information about preceding years? Would that be?
We have.
Sue has who, and I can have a chat with you as to how Joe and I have done it in the past, and then go from there.
Thank you.
Or you guys can talk, or,
It's usually the guy, the guy in town, at the high school that
Yeah.
provides all that information.
They spin the wheel, they dartboards, stuff like that. Okay. All right. All right, just some other items. Reminder, town buildings closed on Monday, February 15th. That's President's Day, right? Reminder, anyone looking to participate in the senior tax work-off program should contact Candy Wilson at the Senior Center. Reminder, complete and return town census and dog license registrations are now available.
1 second, just really quick, because
Sure.
because it's not Monday, February 15th, it's Monday, February 19th.
Oh.
So, I know, because it's school vacation week, and so I'm.
So you know it, very good.
Yeah. So
Very
I just,
good.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to correct that.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, because Monday, February 15th is not a Monday. It's a
No, very
Thursday.
good.
Yes, it is.
Reminder, nomination papers are available in the town clerk's office for the spring town election. That also the people who want to register to vote by mail, that's due fairly soon. I don't think that's on here now, but I know that if you want to vote by mail, that deadline is coming up. And it's not, that does not include municipal election, but it does include the rest of them, right? So.
Yeah, I would think so, considering the
yeah.
first election is March 6th.
So the deadline to vote by mail for March
So
primary
if you're
is
not,
coming up.
if you want to do vote by mail, check on the town website, because that
Yes.
has the guidelines.
Yeah,
And just also to let people know that I think they're going to be doing early voting as well, so there's other options than
Than vote by mail,
the vote
yeah.
by mail, so.
very good. Still, free COVID tests are available at Town Hall. Where's that, at the Board of Health? Is that where people go? Oh, okay. All right, so the next is the consent agenda. Have folks had a chance to look at that? Anybody want to pull anything from the
No.
consent
I
agenda?
just have one question, I'm
Sure.
sorry, Madam.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Vice Chair. I noticed that there is no request to remove the 15-day waiting period on on the two appointments. So do we know when that appointment will
Only
be
just
made?
one.
Yeah, just one.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, so Cam is currently a student at Merrimack College, and he's finishing up their criminal justice program, where they also
He's
get
in the academy
train-
right now.
Yeah,
Right.
academy train. So we're expecting April,
Okay.
but this allows us the
Yeah.
opportunity to
Yeah,
do conditional help.
Great.
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented, with thanks to Ryan Turncliffe for his time on the Finance Committee.
Absolutely.
Here, here. Second on that?
Second.
Any other discussion, or, if not, we'll have the motion's been made in second. All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Consent agenda is passed. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to town manager report. It says here 15 minutes, wow.
Well, I can try to wrap it up quicker than that. So first, the board had requested an update on some of our priority projects. So I can tell you, like working on the Mendez project, I just signed, and I believe I got either yesterday or today, the completed revised project funding agreement, which allows us to be eligible for actually $5 million more in funding than we had originally anticipated. So special thanks to our Senate President Spilka and Representative Lewis for helping to push that through at the legislative level. I'm also working with Jeff D'Amico and Paul. Jeff is part of the project management team on getting a rebate from Eversource that could be quite substantial, end up, in the seven figures potentially, based on some of the energy efficiency improvements or energy efficiency measures that we put in. And, with the Inflation Reduction Act, there were some new programs that were instituted through that now allows municipalities to take advantage of these rebate programs. So the thing is nobody's ever done it before, so we're kind of navigating that.
So I remember doing a similar kind of rebate program when we built the high school. It was through Eversource at that point, but, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
nothing like that, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, we've
good that
already
we're
taken
going for it.
advantage of that
Okay, good.
rebate program.
Yeah, and I think that they're actually using Ashland to try to, see how this is all gonna work.
Yeah.
Work itself through.
So we're the guinea pig, but hopefully at the end of it, we'll have seven figures.
Actually, Michael, can you address, for the community here we're getting $5 million extra in reimbursement. Can you talk about how that's going to impact funding, if not now, at our next
future-
meeting?
yeah,
To sort of talk it through and say how it's impacting, you know, what we need to borrow and how we're doing that. That, I think that'd be really good for the community to hear.
Yes.
That it is going down to save us money as a community.
It will save us money. It will
Okay.
reduce the amount we have to borrow, but I can have a fuller picture of that
I think
in
that'd
the
be great.
future.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's hard right now to really determine that, right? Because right now, we're just in a short-term borrow.
Right, but.
So, because I had talked to Mr. Kendall about that too, and what it would look like, so at some point we'll know.
So, okay. Moving to Upper Charles Trail. So first, we submitted a grant application to the Mass Trails Program to get funding to potentially acquire 2 parcels that are part of the Upper Charles Trail and are more on the eastern side of town. They're affectionately known as the Enzo parcels. And a lot of people, Rob included, worked on this, but I really have to give a shout out to Joel. He put in a ton of work on this application. I know I give Joel a hard time, but I also try to recognize it when he puts in.
Yeah, congratulations,
work here.
Joel, for
So
running that through.
Yeah, cross your fingers. And then also the Upper Charles Trail Committee is going to CPC to get funds for engineering of the Dyke Trail, the construction of the. So they're going to go this spring. We probably won't be able to put it out to bid until the fall, or at the earliest. But we could have that funding secured and in place, and we'll know what that looks like.
That's Marty Ring and I
Yes.
think Tim Henderson's helping him.
I believe you're right. Yeah, Marty and Tim. So thanks to them for spearheading that.
Together.
And then the last one I have is just downtown. We're in the process of just finalizing the bid documents for the building connections. That should be going out soon, with anticipation of starting construction in the spring. So there's that. Moving on. So update on the DEI survey. So in my last newsletter that I put out, I included a link to a community survey that we're doing as part of our DEI strategic plan. And so I would just encourage the community to take that. I'll put it in the newsletter again. We'll post it on social media. I'll send it around to the board members so you can pass it out to your networks as well. But really, really encourage people to take a look at that and take that survey and give us your feedback. We're going to have a little bit more of like an educational presentation. I think that's a fair way of saying it. At the beginning, to just help people understand what DEI is and what it isn't, because some of the feedback that we've received indicates that people have a certain perception of DEI initiatives, and what we're talking about is something different. So I want to make sure we do that. So the board had requested an update on some of the projects before the planning board. So Homer Ave, the decision's being drafted. Did they vote on it yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah, they haven't voted on it, but the decision for that project is actually being drafted. And the planning board will take that up at the next meeting. Yeah, tomorrow night.
Just as a reminder, like what does that project entail? Like, so it's mixed use?
Yeah, Homer Ave is mixed use. I believe it's 29 units, 8,000 square feet of commercial. It fronts Homer Ave pretty much and kind of extends back and to Alton a little bit. I will have to say, I mean, it's, for what is, compared to what's there now, it's going to look big, but I will have to say the design, I think, is probably the closest we've been in terms of hitting the mark into like what looks like a New England-y type of project. So, and then Clover Road Brewery, they went before the planning board the other night, and then also the design review board. Oh. And so design review is going to have their report ready for the planning board by the next
Yeah, so they're gonna
Yeah, the
continue
next
from
meeting.
tomorrow to the next meeting.
And
just
this is
so
the
they
fire,
can-
the fire.
The fire station, yeah.
Great.
So,
People are really looking forward to that.
Timeline as to when that project actually
so if all things go well, we would hope like the May, June timeframe. That they would to open,
Open, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Boy.
That'd be great.
so.
Because it's just site plan review, right?
It's just site plan,
So
correct.
it's not a special permit that they're asking for, so.
Oh, that's right, because that already fits
Yeah.
the criteria, yeah.
So,
Actually, Michael, I have a question.
mhm.
You know, we're talking about downtown, we're talking about the fire station. What we're gonna do at the police station is still open and still has to be discussed. Has any more thought? I was actually talking to someone and they said, oh, it would really be nice is a double-decker parking lot to add more parking. And I'm just wondering where we're at with that and what the next steps are to deciding what to do with that building/lot.
I think it'd probably be good for us to come to you with the thoughts and ideas based on the overwhelming input we got when we did the survey last year. I can tell you, being someone who managed 5 parking garages, believe it or not, in my municipal career, don't ask me how that happened, but I did. They are a lot, yes. They are, it's a lot of maintenance. So I'm not sure if that would necessarily be in the cards, but I think the overwhelming response from people was to use that, at least partially, as parking. So I think we could present something to you that looks like that.
Great,
Sounds good.
thank you.
And then last but not least, Governor Healy filed a couple of weeks ago what they're calling the Municipal Empowerment Act, which, do you remember the Municipal Modernization Act that happened a few years ago? It might have been before your time on the board, Brandy, and it definitely was with you,
The
Claudia.
Baker administration
Yeah,
initiative, right?
and it's basically a bill with a whole host of modifications and new initiatives to help municipalities. And so this is in a similar vein, and of course it needs to work through the legislature. But I think it's something the board needs to maybe consider supporting formally. I wouldn't ask that for that tonight, but I included like a synopsis, a section-by-section summary in your packets that you can read. But I think, looking at some that are really, I guess, germane to us is it changes the municipal procurement laws. It makes Jen's job a little bit easier. So it allows for some flexibility for retirees to come back and work. It makes permanent some of these COVID-era flexibilities that we've seen, like with meetings, and then also with outdoor dining and alcohol delivery, I guess that's what we're calling it. Borrowing for school projects. I'm not anticipating borrowing for a new school project anytime soon, but it allows us to increase the amortization period. And just some small administrative things. Interestingly enough, and no, I'm not advocating for these right now, so I'll just preface it with that. They also include the ability for municipalities to impose a surcharge of 5% on their motor vehicle excise tax, and then also increase the meals tax from 0.75% to 1%. And then I think some of you would really get a kick out of this one. They also have a provision in here for double pole enforcement, which allows cities and towns to enforce the statutory prohibition on keeping double poles up after 90 days. Penalties authorized to be imposed are up to $1,000 per occurrence.
Wow.
So, anyway, that's, again, if you want some more information, I can send it to you.
As to, you can charge them $1,000, but there's no time frame as to.
90 days.
Oh, 90 days.
Yeah, I believe.
So after 90 days, can you charge them another 1,000?
You'd probably, that'd be interesting. I don't know, just based on the synopsis. I'd have to look more into the detail of it.
So I think related to this, I think, Michael, you have that on the agenda for our Friday meeting, right? The Municipal Empowerment Act?
Yes.
Yeah. So just to let the rest of the board now know that we have our traditional chair and vice chair meeting with our legislative delegation. That would be Karen Edelman representing Senator Spilka and Jack Lewis on Friday. So I don't, that's, Michael's going to talk to them about it, I guess, as one item. And so if people had any strong thoughts about that, or I'm just getting familiar with it, it does kind of sound like a good thing. Doesn't make us do anything, but gives us some additional power. But any other, I don't know, Michael, you had any particular other agenda items for Friday?
Just to talk about the home rule petition for the liquor licenses. I talked to
yes.
Jack about filing that.
Yeah. If there's anything else, so we'll report back on the discussion, but if there's any particular strong issues that people, okay. And I don't think we have any huge kind of spending asks or clarifications that we're expecting or fund, budget at this point, right?
Right.
So just wanted to kind of get that one in there since Michael brought up that, but, so, okay.
I think it's great that it's including 3 of those COVID-era items that we've been asking for to finally make them permanent.
This is the adjustable, hybrid.
So the public hybrid meetings that we can still continue, the outdoor seating for restaurants, and then the to-go for alcohol. I think it's great that those are all in there.
Okay. Anything else, Michael, in your
No,
updates?
that's it right now.
Okay, so that brings us to board reports, and if Claudia doesn't object, you can start off. We'll go in our usual order. Is that working for people? I don't want to it's Claudia as always first, so I don't know. Do you want to? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Let's see, I attended Michael's budget presentation to the departments. It was very well done, very well attended, obviously. I think they probably had to come, right?
Yeah, exactly. They had no choice. So.
That's always a good way to get a big crowd.
Exactly.
And I appreciated it. It was very informative. And the Valentine Forum, again, I think we've probably talked enough about that. That was, I thought that was a pretty good crowd. I know people spoke about getting more people, but I thought, plus how many people were watching it on Facebook or that, but I thought it was it was very well done, let's see, today did my open meeting law course, and it was I learned a couple of
any
new
tips
things.
you want to pass on to us? Do those minutes right away?
Just that if one member is virtual, every vote has to be a roll call vote. So that was, I did not know that, so.
Yoinks, I don't know if we were doing, okay. Of course, we always did that,
I think we have.
And then I signed up for a little budget training with MMA, and so.
Oh, nice, that's good.
Yep, so that's it for me.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Brandy.
So I don't have too much. The only thing I would add to that was, so Claudia, Joe, and I were part of the joint meeting with the school committee. So we appointed a new member to the school committee.
Yes.
What?
We forgot, but never mind.
I expected you to zoom in from
Yeah,
vacation.
yeah.
He was going
He
was under
Where were you?
I was coming down from Yunque Rainforest, and it was
Yeah.
El Yunque, yeah.
So, but they had 4 great candidates, and it, I hope that all 4 of them pull papers to run for school committee, because, for the open seat. But it was a great discussion. It was a very hard decision. Mr. Kendall put me on the spot. I'm still not talking to him. No, I'm kidding.
Ooh, there's a story behind that.
I'm kidding. No. But it was a good joint meeting with the school committee, as always. So they are going to be probably doing their budget session. Mr. Adams said end of February, beginning of March. So we'll share that date if it comes. I'm sure we'll see it. But I think that they are in the middle of renegotiating 5 union contracts. Wow. So the budget is going to probably look a little different, and so I know I will probably try to make it to their Saturday budget session, because I kind of want to hear what's going on with them.
I've done that before, and it's been very beneficial.
So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I also did my open meeting law training today, so I am fully up to speed on all things legal, so.
That's a
You
good,
did it together, that constitutes a quorum?
No, well, so it's a webinar, so you have no idea who else is on it,
Right.
so,
I know, I was hoping I'd see her.
yeah.
so
no.
reminder for, like, we have to go back to an email and register? Is that what?
From
the deal-
Susan.
From Susan.
Susan,
So I
okay.
think there
And there
were
were
like a
specific
few
dates,
dates,
too.
yeah.
Yes, okay.
So I'm waiting
Boy,
for
I
my
better check that.
confirmation from the Attorney General's office that I've completed it, and then I assume I have to forward it to somebody? Do I have to forward it to somebody?
They said we should have it in a couple of days.
Yeah, we
So,
should get in a
But
couple days.
probably
Get
get
an
it back
email.
to Susan or Michael.
Yeah.
Why don't you forward it to Susan?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was my thought.
Oh,
Okay.
And,
The keeper of all good things.
Yes, okay. All right, so we'll do that.
Wow, very good.
keeper of all good things.
And
I
then,
like that.
and
Keeper of
then,
all good things.
other than that, just been really busy with comprehensive plan stuff. It's
Yes.
really kicking into action. I drafted an article for Town Pages for March, so there'll be something that comes out in
Nice.
March in Town
Nice.
Pages, and just,
Yeah,
it's
I
all good
was
stuff.
really impressed when, I think maybe Michael had sent the link and the crowd map, it's all pretty nice.
pretty cool stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I like cool.
That's it for me.
Great, thank you. Joe, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of quick things. The Affordable Housing Trust has been very busy the last couple of weeks since our last meeting. And we are now going through a process where Habitat for Humanity will be building a single unit in town. That location is going to be 487 Main Street, which is that vacant lot right across from Fenwall, or the old Fenwall building. And there are some great designs, and I will make copies and send them off to you so you can see them. But one of them looks totally beautiful to fit that location. It's
Great.
3 bedrooms with a little farmer's porch in front. Just very, very nice. So we're working on that, and
Joe, and so you went to the abutters meeting that informally.
I did.
How was anything to report from that?
well,
or-
that's what I was going to report on.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It was great. They had a public hearing, public forum, I should say, Habitat for Humanity, and the owner of the former owner of the property, several members of the Affordable Housing Trust, and 3 or 4 of their members from Habitat were present. There were no other abutters, unfortunately. That may be a good sign. They did receive notification, but we'll actually gladly, open up another, have another one available for them, so,
That could be a great story on Around the Clock.
yeah. I mean,
Talk about that and get the information out to people.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd love to do that.
Absolutely, we'd be happy to do that. The other thing I want to do is, my wife asked me to make sure that I thanked all the folks that sent her cards and everything about, for her surgery, and she wanted to thank those who made her shout-out citizen. So she was extremely taken by it, and now I have to put an addition on because her head is so big. Listen, I'm in the doghouse now.
Yeah,
It doesn't make any difference how much bigger.
Oh, yeah, it did.
It really doesn't. And she knows I love
You
her,
might
but
really be in that doghouse tonight, Joe.
it may be warmer. Anyway, but she just wanted to shout out for that recognition. She's extremely
that's
humbled and honored by it. Wish my son a very happy birthday, 42. I don't know where the time has gone, but unbelievable. And the Traffic Study Committee, we answered some of the concerns that several residents have provided to the committee. You saw the speed radar sign on Pleasant Street, which was put up for a few weeks, and that's going to go around other locations in town. That's on Myrtle now.
Oh, good.
And we erected a no-through sign on Water Street, at the entryway on Water Street. And that seemed to have helped defer traffic, cutting through that area. So every little bit helps, so we're working on it. And if we get funding for additional, radar signs, that would be awesome, if we can get that, because it is working, and it's working well. So, and the last thing, we had an MBTA zoning forum on the night.
Monday.
On Monday, and it was there were 19 participants that came and were on the Zoom forum with us, and we got a lot of great feedback with some of the citizens concerned about, is that considered mixed use? And they were concerned about the town property, and we very nicely explained to them that Trish and Peter explained that a lot of town-owned property is not susceptible to this
Right.
zoning change. So they said, well, why can't we buy up all the land? And again, it was made known that we couldn't do that.
Build
But,
out now. We've been
but
buying a lot of
we're looking at some other options that some folks provided to us. And I would say that what we have currently, option A, small density zoning, is probably the one that we're probably going to lean and push for, because it includes, the residential area along Pleasant Street. So hopefully that'll help. There were some concerns about businesses on the southwest side of the railroad tracks, and that would definitely cover those needs for those folks that,
When you say, you're talking about the business like Worcester Air Conditioning?
Well, yeah, it leads down to Worcester Air Conditioning, all the way down to Burnham's.
Okay. And
So-
what
Does
are
it
you
include
thinking, that
Burnham's?
you would include it in the zoning or not?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I think
It
that
would
makes
be.
sense, it's right there.
Well, it's actually right there, and some of the other locations that we were looking at, like 48 House Street, which is the old terminal building, the ice skating property, which used to be Roachwood Arena, for those who,
Oh, wow.
that's actually in that area, but it doesn't fit the criteria of, being accessible to the railroad tracks. And if you want to make it accessible, now it's going to cost additional monies in funding.
I thought that we could do parcels that were not accessible, that were not near the train tracks.
We can.
Okay.
But this is still within that .5 radius.
Right, no, I
So,
understand
yeah.
that, but my understanding was, and I apologize, I wasn't able to go to the forum.
Yeah.
Was it recorded that we can go back
Oh,
and
yeah.
watch it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there was discussion that allowing the zoning on one side of Pleasant Street could then eventually impact the houses on the other side of Pleasant Street. But I'll go back and look, and then I'll ask you my
Which is one reason why we
questions.
looked at the certain locations and didn't do the whole area.
I see, okay.
We actually used the Sudbury River as a boundary line, because there were some concerns, like, why aren't you using the old Perini property along Ponderosa Road? Well, there's some concerns, and that's where the Mason has his company.
Oh, right.
Oh.
So.
That's
I
probably
think
the
it's
other
hard
side.
without a map in front of us.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
no,
go,
it is, it is.
I'll go watch the
Yeah.
forum and
But
then, yeah.
it's there. But
Yeah,
anyway,
let us
long
know when
story
you
short
want
is.
to be on the agenda again. or
Yeah,
with the next,
actually,
next,
we're planning on doing another forum
okay.
to go over stuff, and.
How was the form accessed? Because I didn't see it on.
It was
town.
Zoom.
But on what?
It was on the
website?
town
It was
website.
on the calendar.
It was on the
town
calendar, yeah.
Is the,
Oh, and
As
is the
an event.
recording up on WACA, or is the recording?
Yeah,
where's the recording available?
Well, that's a good question. I'd have to ask, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, on WACA.
Was it okay.
Did they record it? Because it was a Zoom meeting, so they probably weren't even involved.
You know what, I'll have to find out. I don't know. And if we did, and if we do another one, we'll make sure that it's.
Okay.
That's good. Well, thanks
So-
for doing that, Joe.
Oh, no, it was very interesting, and a lot of folks are very interested in, certain locations, and, we suggested, 100 Chestnut Street was another viable location that we could
Yeah.
use as well. So, I mean, all those locations were
And you
presented.
said
Okay.
you're doing another forum?
Yeah, we're gonna be doing another one. We're meeting tomorrow at 2:00, just to go over the forum that we had, and
Cool.
do what we need to do. So I'll get back to you all individually
Okay.
with respect to where you
Great.
can locate
Thank you.
that
Thanks,
video.
Joe.
And that's about it, so thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks. Go ahead, Yolanda.
So since our last public meeting, I actually attended the MMA. I know that seems like forever ago. Yeah.
The convention?
Yeah, the
Oh my
MMA
gosh.
conference. It was after our second meeting in January, and because
Right.
January had five weeks.
Yeah.
They had a great opening session on DEI and equity at local government level, and what was really interesting was they were talking about trying to have more people at the table, and as as you stood there in the first session, you could definitely tell that we need more equity, and we need more inclusion, and we need more people of color represented at the local government level. So it was very interesting, and the speaker was fabulous. The WEMO session, which is the luncheon for women elected municipal officials, I was the facilitator for a fireside chat, which went really well with our current climate chief, so that was fun. I attended the dinner that celebrated Senate President Karen Spilka and House Speaker Mariano. They were both awarded, given awards from MMA. And then I went to a couple Saturday sessions. One was talking about downtowns and business districts and things like that. So it was very informative. I enjoyed that. Again, I highly recommend next year if people can attend. It's always a good session. Saw a lot of different people. Michael and I spent a little bit of time together, so that was good too. Then I did spend about an hour and a half select board office hours this past Saturday at the bagel table. And what was very interesting was, I was there to talk to people and ask them about filling out the survey, that I would say 50% of the people that I talked to did not live in Ashland. That they were, so people from Shrewsbury, from Westboro, from Holliston, from Hopkinton, coming to the bagel table for their bagels.
But, and they talked.
Well, because I would say, are you a resident of
Oh, so you
Ashland?
were
Oh, no,
accosting people.
I was politely asking people. I was using my scale skills
very
and,
good.
and asking questions. But then the other thing that was nice was a group of 4 young women came in. They had all graduated from Ashland High School.
nice.
They had just all graduated last spring from college. They were back home, and they all, I could tell, they used the QR code for the survey. And I could hear them like sitting and talking about it. So they were taking, yeah. So we got a couple people to take the survey as well. And then the last thing, this just happened today. I'm on the MMA Municipal Regional Policy Committee. So we talk about policy for a lot of different things. And I was just asked to chair that. So I'm going to be the chair of that MMA Policy Committee for the next year.
Great.
Shouldn't be too hard of a lift. So I highly recommend if you're interested. I don't know if they're still looking for people, but you pick one of the committees and you learn a lot. I've learned a lot and have been able to bring back stuff from it as well for the town. So, and if we're wishing happy birthdays, my oldest turns 30 next Friday, and I'm just
Wow.
so she's not watching. I know that. So
Very good.
anyway,
All right.
and that's it.
Thank you, Yolanda.
Yep.
Just a few items. One is, just to give you guys a heads up, Yolanda and I and Michael met with Dale from Framingham University, and he had some ideas about, and I can't say too much about it, but he just kind of, he's interested in using the barn for certain things, and he wants to talk about how to do that, and we basically, talked about maybe next year, looking at it very seriously about what kind of projects could be done there. They're interested in using the barn, so we kind of, I think, indicated.
This is the barn that's not built yet.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure
Yes,
we
yes.
were all,
Yes, good
Okay.
point.
Okay,
And
just-
that was one of the.
Okay.
Not there yet. It's in
Right.
our plan for next year.
Right.
I just wanted to,
Yeah.
because I'm like, uses for the barn, like the
Yeah.
barn's
Oh,
not there
yeah,
yet.
we're gonna-
Okay,
we're
just
gonna
wanna
have
make
a
sure I
dance
wasn't-
Saturday night. Yeah.
Okay,
But
just wanted to
anyway,
make sure we
Under
weren't-
the stars.
People weren't
Right,
thinking,
no, good point. Right.
What barn?
And I think one of the things that I think we thought, it might be a complementary, because we have some other barns of our own, and so the fact that they may use it could be, anyway, so, and the other thing is, they're thinking of putting in an outside rink, and that could potentially involve some of our property, and he was gonna ask us about using that. So that's kind of in the, so I think, how did we leave it, Yolanda? He may be coming to see us in a few months?
Yeah, at
or-
some point, we're gonna have him come,
Yeah.
and he's gonna, once they have few things a little bit better flushed out.
Yeah,
But it would not be for this year, it would be potentially next winter.
right, thank you. The other thing, just a quick update, MBTA Advisory Board is doing a number of things. We've now scheduled commuter rail committee into the fall. But one of the things that's going on is apparently a fare reduction throughout the system, including commuter rail. So that's something I'm kind of eager to look at too and see what's going on with that. So that's a quick update. And I attended an emotional intelligence training that MMA put on. It's a series from their leadership group, and I don't know if Yolanda, you were doing it, but there's a series of 3 of them. And emotional intelligence, of course, is not a course, but it has to do with empathy and understanding your own emotions and others and how to focus on things, you know. So which is, I think. Good at that, Rob. Yeah, well, I think we're probably better than most people because look at what we're doing here. So we can't be too, but anyway, it's an interesting kind of thing. But I attended that today. And I guess, and, you know, there's 2 more sessions, and I would recommend, most of the people there were, I think, staff who deal with the public and how to, you know, interact, you know, with people who were, you know, upset about something or emotional. So anyway. And the last thing I've chatted with a number of people, but I do want to say publicly, I do not intend to I will not run for re-election to this post when my time is up in May. So I just wanted to, you know, just briefly, I won't say too much right now. You know, like Steve, I'm going to save up and do a number of long, no, I won't. But I did want to just, you know, personally, I think it's been a great honor and privilege to represent the people of Ashland and work with the many people I've worked with over the years. You know, I really appreciate that opportunity. And one thing I will say, you know, people who are thinking about running for this office or being on a committee in general, that it's really a great opportunity to meet people in your community and meet all sorts of people, interact with you normally wouldn't. So looking back on how I've spent, well, now it's been 12 years, it would be 12 years on the select board, and my other time in town government and all the people that you meet, it's really kind of an extraordinary, I can't imagine what my life would have been like if I hadn't been meeting all these many people. So anyway, but I just wanted to say that. So anyway, so with any of that, if there's no other snide remarks, we will ask to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Hey, look, I'm losing mine too.
Yeah, all right. All
See
those
you
in
in 2
favor of
weeks.
adjourning, thank you.
Aye.
Bye.
Good night.
See you in 2 weeks. Thank you all.
Good night, everyone.